Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Derek Michaud, and this is Flush in the Pocket presented by Brunswick. And today we got a triple threat. We got myself, and then we got a guy who's had two podcasts, Bone and Zano Zone with Justin Bone, and now he is solo with Over the Cap, Mike Valanzano. How are you, Mike?
What's up, bud?
And we also have Johnny Petraglia Jr., who has Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. that you could see every Wednesday night right here on YouTube with the Dr. Ocho and Rad Rob. JP, how are you, sir?
Good, Derek. Thanks. It's a pleasure being here and looking forward to the show.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And like I said, let it fly. So how did you guys start bowling?
Johnny, you want to take that one?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's kind of in John's DNA. I mean, let's call a spade here, right, John?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I started as early as 2 years old. Dad was in the game for his whole life. Obviously, still is in the game to a certain extent. But I was born and bred into it. And fortunately for me, I enjoyed it every step of the way and just stuck with it as the years progressed. Like pretty much the same way you see most of the guys with kids now, the Bones, Barnes boys, things along those lines.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me. I started when I was 3, and bowling was in my family, not to the level of John, but, my whole family bowled, so I just kind of – and John, as much as I hate Ocean Lanes, and everybody knows that, my mother bowled league there when we lived in Lakewood and when I was a kid, when I was 3, so that's where I actually started bowling. And
I didn't know that.
North. Yeah, before we moved up north. And I started when I was 3, and just one of those things where it just caught on.
Ocean Lanes, man, it makes that building for anybody that's never bowled there before. First off, I don't know exactly why you don't like it. Personally, why I don't like it, other than the fact that I've never seen a bigger overblock in my life. And what I mean by that is
they're ridiculously cliff there. It's ridiculous.
Like the only way to go through the nose is if you miss an arrow. Right or left of your target, like left for a lefty and right for a righty. You literally have to get it to like
John,
2.
I would give my kidneys to shoot a 3.610 in this building. My ball never goes high.
No chance.
Like honestly, I can get to the spot where somebody goes high, and I leave the 2.4810. It's unbelievable.
Exactly.
So
and then
meanwhile, they're too hard over there.
Meanwhile, the pins sound like they haven't been changed since 1970.
Yeah, okay.
They fall like absolute logs. It's horrible. It's just shitty.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous center though. It's probably
it's a well-run center, beautifully maintained center, great food, great bar.
Yep.
But as far as the lanes, I don't feel comfortable on those lanes.
No, and you know what else is weird there? The ball returns are pushed up like 4 maybe 5 feet on the approach.
Yes.
So at least for me on the right lane, you got to walk around. It's way too far up on the approach.
Absolutely.
I always said if I ever built a center, remember the old Tokyo Port Bowl, how they had the ball return on the back of the approach?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, where the ball would pop out from the rear end side.
Yep. And
pop
the ball
out
out of play
rather than away from it. Yep.
Yeah, the ball returns out of play.
So is Ocean too easy, or is it just too easy, too hard? You're just not comfortable there.
It's too easy, Derek. It allows even the most mediocre bowler believe that they can actually go compete on the PBA tour. So it's one of those buildings where you can lose to a bowler who's literally 40 pins worse than you. You can lose to a bowler that's 40 pins worse than you in that center.
I got run over by a 193 last. I subbed there for a buddy of mine last night. I got run over by a 193. Like it wasn't even close.
Exactly.
It was terrible.
So I know where I'm going once this podcast is over.
Yeah.
So Johnny, I know that a lot of these questions the answer is going to be obvious with you, but a lot of the fans may not know. But who coached the both of you? Oh.
Well, let's see. Obviously, my dad was my main coach. Through thick and thin through all the years, but I had the luxury of being around Parker Bone III for most of my life. So every time we were together, I would always pick up tips and tricks from him. I got some expert coaching because of who my dad is. I took lessons with Jerry Edwards and Fred Borden when I was in my teenage years. I had, obviously help with my college coaches, but
Bobby Brown, buddy.
Bobby Brown.
Bobby Brown.
But my main coach obviously was my dad, the the brain game. Learned most of that from Parker. He's got one of the best brains on tour.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, just kind of fly by night. When I was on tour, I always looked up to Patrick Allen and Rhino Page.
Yep.
Took a lot of good information from them. And but yeah, really, obviously, the obvious answer is my dad was my coach for most of my life.
How about you, Mike?
So, John, I'm going to go a little bit different. So, I had the luxury of obviously knowing you forever. So, Dad was always a good source of info, and same with Parker. But I'm going to go a little bit on the more local level. Roger Gardner was very influential growing up. John Paris was very influential growing up. Derek, these are guys that you probably have never heard of before, but here in the Northeast, those guys were the daddy back in the day.
Yeah.
I'll give you another one, John. JD.
Oh, absolutely.
JD and I, we spent a whole summer together. We bowled everything we can get our hands on, and learning from him, like Roger and John, they knew the old way of the game, right? Kind of like what it is now. But JD knew the modern version of what is becoming. Nobody better than JD over the gutter cap. He was the first one to ever teach me how to go in front of the ball return and play the gutter cap.
Mm-hmm.
So guys like that were very influential. But your father and Parker were two of the big ones. All through high school and whatnot. They were the two main sources. They were a phone call away at all times.
Derek, to give you an idea of like the Roger Gardner who he had mentioned, Roger Gardner was my dad's primary coach.
Roger Gardner taught Timmy Mack how to bowl.
Yeah, and Roger and Timmy were actually my sponsors, my first backers ever that ever put me into adult tournaments.
Yeah,
it was Roger Gardner, Dr. Joe Krakovich, and Tim Mack. Yeah,
yeah.
So I apologize for the phone calls there, but got that taken care of.
It means we're popular. They know we're on.
Yeah. So kind of going off the sheet a little bit, how did you two meet? How did you two become brothers from another? And I mean, was it brotherhood instantly?
John,
we had one.
Can I start this one?
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw Johnny was at the Showboat in Atlantic City at a JBT. And years ago, and John, see if you remember this, they used to have the JBT at Showboat on Saturday, and you'd bowl Kingpin on Sunday. And it was like two of the biggest turnouts Chuck would get for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we bowled either next to each other at Showboat or on the same pair, and we just started talking, and didn't know who he was, and learned, oh, he's from an Alpin, and then put one and one together, and Christ, it's been 30 years probably.
Yeah, I remember bowling the boat, but I don't remember meeting you there.
That was the memory. But then but that was and then growing up through school, practicing like at Carolier or Mid-State, or when I used to work at Strathmore, Derek, we would go to this place called Strathmore Lanes. We would bowl 60 games for the day,
soft,
and walk right out. They wipe it out, done. And we had the luxury of just we never paid to bowl. We would just bowl all day long.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, that's how I remember them. And then as juniors, high school, college, we were rivals in high school, but when we would bowl together, we would always win. We won the state doubles title as kids a couple times. I mean, we were it.
That's
and my 10 cents to that is we've also had one of those friendships that are, I think, the ones that kind of like get swept under the rug nowadays, but are the most important. We haven't been like intimate, in contact best friends that do everything together. We've had spurts where we were college roommates. We've had spurts where we would only see each other at bowling tournaments and juniors. We have spurts where I go home twice a year, and like now we make it a point to see each other. Yep. It's one of those friendships that kind of just, as we've both gotten older, we both matured enough in the respect that like 10 years of absence from one another is nothing to pick right back up where we were 30 years ago.
Exactly. You pick the phone up and just never lost a touch, not lost a beat.
Yeah, which is always, that's what's always, I think, made the friendship strong.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
That's awesome. How long did it take you guys to average 200?
Wow, what a great question.
That's a good one.
I'll start because I don't remember exactly, but I do remember the first time that I ever bowled a 200 game. I got dropped off at Country Lanes for one of my 20 games in one day bowling with my $20 bill for chicken nuggets, arcade games, and soda and popcorn. And I was bowling next to my buddy Steve Gachko. I was 11 or 10 years old, and I had a 10 or 11 pound Rhino RE. It was one of my first fingertip bowling balls, and I bowled a 202 game when I was 10 or 11. And I remember that that was my first ever deuce. And then I remember pacing in the Friday Night Junior Doubles League when I was 13 or 14 years old, throwing a Violet Quantum, and I bowled 247. I had 279 to the wall, but I flagged the spare in the 10th and shot 247. So if I had to guess, I started averaging 200 probably when I was 15 years old, I would say.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same thing, like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And where we bowled, I mean, it's especially in high school, we bowled in that dump. That place was impossible to strike.
Oh,
in.
Harmony Lanes. It was
Yeah.
It was attached to a Chinese restaurant, and we are thoroughly convinced that the oil conditioner was duck sauce.
Yeah.
We used to go there, and then the butchers would be chasing the goats in the backyard, and we're like, what the hell are they chasing goats for? This is a restaurant.
And if you remember, we bowled on the wood. I never got the synthetics. You got the synthetic, I think.
I got both.
Year. Yeah. They were impossible on the wood.
Yeah,
impossible.
If you averaged, I remember I out averaged. I had the season record one year for that county. I out averaged the second highest average in the season by 14 pins a game.
Yeah,
I believe this was my junior or maybe my senior year. But my league, my high school bowling average was only 212, and it's because we bowled in Harmony Lanes. But the second highest average in my county was 14 pins lower than that. Then you go to guys who get to bowl at, like, say, Cavalier Lanes, and their guy is averaging 222, 223. I'll give you a prime example, Mike Casey Kreitz.
Yep.
Casey, Mike, and myself were all basically the same bowling talent level. But Casey out-averaged us by 10 pins a game. Just goes to show you it's all about the element that you're surrounded in, the bowling lanes you're on.
Yeah.
And you go to a cathedral like Cavalier Lanes with awesome pin carry and perfect maintenance, and then you go to Harmony Lanes where they're chasing goats in the back. It's a horse of a different color. So
it was miserable bowling there, miserable, and the wood was so beat up, like there was
a dirty, dark,
missing.
dungeony bowling alley.
Yeah, like there were boards missing on.
You
on
could
some
stick
of the
a quarter. You could stick a quarter between the boards at the heads.
They were impossible.
Yeah,
absolutely
they were not
impossible.
easy.
Were you guys ever terrible bowlers? I mean,
I still am.
I was just gonna say I'm still horrible.
I stink. Yeah,
I'm wretched.
You see me bowl last night at Ocean. Bowl 140 the first game last night.
Yes.
Say, did you ever average like 140 or like did it when you? I mean, how long? I guess
probably. I mean, I never bowled with bumpers, so I mean,
yeah, I never bowled with bumpers either. Well, I was never horrible. I was capable of bowling 200 games at the age of 11, and prior to that, nobody's good. Nobody's good when they're 8 years old.
Yeah,
and even if all you is like, oh, this kid will be good someday, you know. But no, I was never bad. I was never a fan. I was never great in tournament competition. I've had, tell you the truth, with the limited amount of tournaments I've bowled, my success rate is actually pretty decent in comparison to my failure rate. But I don't bowl enough. And yeah, so I still stink. I'm about as good as I was when I was 12 years old, comparatively speaking.
Okay.
Watching him bowl league last month was painful.
Oh.
I mean, we all have different priorities now, Derek. I mean, you know, we have jobs, we have careers, we have families. It's I don't. John, when was the last time you practiced? Like literally had a practice session.
So the only time I've practiced in the last 7 years is on Tuesday afternoon. I give a bowling lesson to my buddy Jeff, and he encourages me to bowl with him because he likes the pace of it because he's a little bit older, and he likes to see me kind of put into perspective the things I'm trying to explain to him. So I bowl for 1 hour with my bowling lesson once a week, and that only started about 3 months ago. But prior to that, no.
League is practice.
Because to remember, for me, Mike, I've always been more of the social guy. I've always been more involved in bowling because of the social element of bowling. I am a fierce competitor, don't get me wrong, but my main priority, like when I'm there, is to have a good time with people.
Yeah.
And where the hell was I going with this? So yeah, so like even when I would go and practice at Cavalier Lanes, there'd be 30 or 40 people there that I could either practice with or hang out with or shoot pool with afterwards or go eat lunch with. And that was more fun to me. The bowling was just secondary. And now it's like when I go to the bowling alley, nobody talks to anybody anymore. Nobody practices anymore. It's not a hangout in Las Vegas. It's not a place where you got a batch of 20 or 30 people that you can mix shit with. Yeah. Out here, everybody's to each his own, and they don't do that. So going to practice is no longer fun.
Yeah, and you can't like walk the strip like you go to Strathmore. Oh, we lunch the pizza place. You walk down the strip, the strip mall. An eighth of a mile, boom, there's a pizzeria or there's a deli or whatever. You don't have that in Vegas. Totally different. Right. Different animal.
Totally. Right. If you want to go get a slice of pizza and after 2 or 3 games of bowling, you got to walk through a casino to get there.
Yeah, or you're going to go to Steak. You go to Steak and Shake at South Point downstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. How old were you both when you got your first bowling ball?
3.
Yeah.
I still have it too.
I don't still have mine, but I was probably the same age. It was a yellow Superman ball. It was a bright yellow ball. Superman was blue or red. The Superman logo was blue. And yeah, I think that was it.
Mine's in my basement. I had a red Lucky Strike. It was called.
Nice.
Yeah,
pearlized.
Got it. Hybrid.
Oh, very respectful.
Hybrid. A little weight hole, 500 on a little surface on it.
Perfect. Yeah. So use that at USBCs this year.
Yeah.
So Johnny, I know the answer to this one. Probably was pretty early, but how old were you guys when you discovered bowling, professional bowling, or any type of bowling on TV?
1994 for me. It was okay. I remember sitting at home. I was watching like TGIF. You guys remember TGIF?
Yeah.
Of course.
So it was definitely TGIF because it was a Friday night. And back then the tour was the match play rounds of the 24 games concluded on Friday evening, and the television show was on 3:00 on Saturday on ABC. Mm-hmm. And I remember my mother, the phone rang, the landline, for those of youngins that don't know what that is, that's a phone that actually rings in your house.
And there's a cord that goes to the
There's
wall.
a cord, yeah. So
is that a flip phone, Derek? You have a flip phone?
No, it is not.
That looked like
it looked like a flip phone.
No, this is a landline.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. You just saved yourself a little embarrassment there, buddy.
But the phone rang, and this actually turns out to be a great story. And I hear my mother answer hello, and my mom's in the kitchen, and I'm watching TGIF, and I only hear the one side of the phone. You fifth? Oh my fucking God, you fifth? And she's cursing in her full-blown Italian and this and that.
Must be Toledo, right?
Yeah. And and my mom comes in. Now, granted, and keep in mind, I was born in 1984.
Yep.
I was a baby. My dad only made, I think, 1 telecast in the first 10 years of my life. And I think that was in Fairfield, Connecticut, but I was still 7 or 8 years old.
Windsor Locks. Anyway, he had the big dark glasses of Windsor Locks.
Yes. Lost to Dave Arnold.
Yeah. Ooh,
but Mom says Dad's bowling on television tomorrow. And so the next day at 3 p.m., that was the first ABC show that they had the guys run out through the smoke. And they introduced the new song and the intro. And the first person that comes running out is the 5 seed, and it's my dad. And I remember looking in front of the television and just being completely frozen, starstruck, like, oh my God, this is what my dad does. And sure enough, wins the first game. And then the next game, man, you think my mom was screaming when she found out he made the show. I can't even announce the shit that she was screaming when he bowled the 300. And what made that moment so cool was that was also the exact time that my dad was Michael J. Fox's bowling coach for the movie Greedy. So Michael J. Fox had been staying at our house for a month leading up to Toledo, because the following week was the Johnny Petraglia Open, where Michael J. Fox and my dad were going to do the charity event. So I'm playing Mario Brothers and bowling with Michael J. Fox for a month. Then my dad makes TV and bowls 300. And then we get to watch Michael J. Fox at my home bowling alley. That's when I fell in love with bowling. From then on, that's why nothing in my life went away from bowling through the year 2000. And I know it like the back of my hand.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? When did you discover that bowling on TV was a thing?
I went to, I want to say it was the 88 US Open at the Showboat. Go back to Showboat. Mm-hmm. My mother took me down there, and I was probably 5 at the time. And I was obsessed with Steve Cook. Obsessed with Steve Cook. He's a big, giant guy. He just got all over it. And He was kind of like Andre the Giant, basically, right, John? He was just like
6'7", 275.
yeah, and he just got all over it. And I had a towel that I bought at the stand, like the souvenir stand there. And I was walking around getting guys to sign it. I couldn't find Cook anywhere. And then Cook came out of a room and he signed my towel. And that was it. And from that moment on, I got to watch it on TV, like you said, on Saturday, 3 o'clock. And I used to record them all on videotapes. And I still, you remember all the tapes I had.
Oh, yeah.
The
so
ones
does my ex-wife.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. The ones that Angela didn't set on fire. Or Andrea, I'm sorry. But I still have them. And I was every Saturday record it. And just like John said, like, it's ingrained in my head now. Like, I'll say there's Litch, because Litchy has the greatest memory of or bowling knowledge of anybody I've ever met before.
Mhm.
And I'll say Bo is right below him.
Mhm.
John, I think me and you are pretty. We're like if they're 1-2, we're like 3A, 3B. And
we're up there.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
would
couple
openly say
of
that.
serious considerations would be like Joe Chacon,
Lenny Nicholson's another one.
Matt McNeil.
Yeah, Matt's pretty good. Yep, but I think we'd be top 5, top 6.
100. Soft top 10.
Easily.
Yes,
Yeah.
Agree.
I'm right there with the both of you because that's what I did as well. I taped them, and when we were all doing the trivia contest 3 years ago, and Mike, you wanted to chat with me a little more, and you said, "How the hell do you know these things?" Because when you cool kids are watching your movies or whatever, I'm watching bowling over and over and over and over and over, and that's what I did. And now I put them on DVD. I mean, I don't watch any tournament just once. So
yeah, I'm the same way. To this day, I mean, when Rochelle's asleep and I'm still awake, I mean, every single night that I'm either lying on the couch to fall asleep, the last thing I always put on is a bowling show.
Yeah,
the only thing I ever change is the year.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've seen pretty much every bowling show ever. So it's very rare that I find a show I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I think you already answered it, but when did you guys attend your first pro event?
88 U.S. Open.
Okay.
That was my first one.
All right.
At Showboat.
1991 Johnny Petraglia Open at Carolier.
Gee, I wonder why. Yes, he said Carolier, people, not Bolero, North Brunswick, or whatever.
Yeah. That is one name change I will absolutely never adhere to.
It'll never be anything different. It'll always be Carolier.
No, definitely.
They made that off ramp on Route 1.
I was just gonna say
construction, all that road construction they did there for years. They did that for the bowling center.
They built a road called Carolier Lane.
Yeah,
that leads you directly to the bowling alley because it was one of the most visited destinations in New Jersey for 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
And then, so I will never, ever, ever call it Bolero, North Brunswick.
And the thing, even taking out like the pro side of that building, John, you could, and Derek, there's 82 lanes in this place, 48 upstairs and the bottom on the rest on the bottom. You'd go there during the week. That league, the building would be filled with leagues every night of the week. And Friday night, double session filled that building.
Full.
And then, and I was never here, John, and I don't think you were either. About 2-3 miles up the road was Edison Lanes.
Bowled there a few times.
Not the big one.
Oh, you're talking about Brunswick Edison.
Brunswick, I'm talking about real big Edison, like where Roger and
that's 112 lane.
Yeah,
Edison. I never got there.
Me either. So you had 112 lanes, let's say 5 miles away from Carolier, and both centers would be filled every night of the week with leagues.
So this may shock you, but I actually been to Carolier one time.
Okay.
My girlfriend at the time and we went to see Rascal Flatts at the Prudential Center in Jersey. And then I asked her, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I bring my bowling balls? We'll just, do whatever." Well, we go to Carolier, and I asked them if I could bowl on 7 and 8 because that's the TV pair for a lot of years. And I couldn't, but I bowled. I remember the upstairs and the downstairs. That was the only time I was ever at Carolier, but nice place. And I bowled on the one of the ABC Masters patterns. So that was really cool.
Nice.
39-foot one or
It's a
something.
great.
Like that.
It was a great center. Still is a good center, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
What did you think of the yellow oil? That was a little weird.
I don't think that was oil. I think that was imagery on the lane.
Yeah.
Did you notice how it never moved?
Oh, sure.
That's
sure.
that clutch lane system for the imagery that they use on the lanes. That was just there to display what was there.
I don't mind that. I really don't.
I don't mind it either. The only thing I do mind about it is for the bowler's sake, because now you're looking at an image that's falsified by what's actually out there.
Yeah.
So your brain is telling you, if I know how to play this pattern and study it and see in front of me that my break point's supposed to be here, now you have to find your actual break point once they break down with that inhibiting factor that's telling your brain otherwise. No, you should be hitting here. I wasn't as big a fan of that as I was with the oil on the lane. Like the dye on the lane eventually suits the player as it breaks down because you can really see the transition. But when you really can't see the transition and you have something impeding your vision of the new break point, I don't know. I thought that was kind of shitty. I like the color though.
Yeah, definitely. Who is your favorite Pro Bowler?
This is tough for me because I have way more than one for several different reasons.
Sure.
I'm going to say.
You want to do three? Do three each?
Yeah, well, we can do three.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. You want to start?
Let's take Parker out of the equation. Was Parker?
I was just going to say. I was going to say obviously two of them is obviously my dad and Parker.
Yeah.
But
I
want to take them out of the equation, but certainly say that I'm not skipping Dad and I'm not skipping Parker, but I want them out of it to make for a better top three.
Yeah, because it's family and can't do
that.
You want to go first?
Yeah, let me see if I can find my first one quick here. I'm gonna have to go with Amleto Monticelli, number one for me. I envy the mixture of power and precision, and I love guys with fantastic mental games. And guys that stay focused on maintaining physical attributes necessary for longevity. So I've always admired Amleto.
All right. I'll give you one here. This guy, I think, is probably, if not the best, the second best left-handed bowler to ever throw a bowling ball, ever. And if I had to put my life in his hands to throw a shot, I want Michael Albee throwing it. That is a guy right there who is just phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic. And like you said, precision, mental. He would never show any emotion, but when he needed one, he gave you the business. Like,
oh yeah.
And
he's like a shark.
Yeah, exactly. And he's the guy where you needed a strike in the 10th, you don't want him throwing it. He's putting it there.
100%.
If he gets 7 out, it's a different story, but Albee's not gagging one up when he needed one. So Albee would be my first one.
Okay, I'm going couch.
Nice.
It's a good one.
My first one.
That's a safe one.
Yeah.
My second one, I am going to take Robert Smith.
Bob.
Yeah. I say all you want about EJ Tackett, but there's something. It's cool when a small guy can rev it up, but it's really fucking badass when a yoked guy can be free and fluent and still strong. So I've always appreciated and envied what Robert Smith can do to a bowling ball. I think he's an absolute gentleman. I think he brings nothing but good vibes to anybody he's around. He never, ever has a bad thing to say about anybody. And he's always loved the game. And through all of his injuries, he's figured out a way to persevere through it and stay involved. And he can still fucking rip him up. So, I'm going to go with Robert Smith. I can watch him bowl all day, every day for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Bob's probably the one guy who should have won more that didn't win more on tour.
Totally.
And injuries kind of hurt him, but I think Bob is the one. He could have won 20 times. He was that good.
Soft.
Yeah, he was that good. I got to go with this guy. This is a legend. This is arguably, I think, the greatest bowler I've ever seen in person. It's Norm Duke.
Yep.
Even before resin, Norm with urethane. But you said 94 a while back, John. That year put him on the map.
Oh, yeah.
And as he got older, he got better. It was weird. Like normally athletes, they wear down as they get older in their careers. Norm got tougher as he got older.
Yep.
He did. And there's not many guys that can go right to left on a lane or play directly up a board. Tell me what two-hander can play directly up to. And I don't mean getting it. I mean going up to.
I don't think we found one yet.
No.
Norm Duke can play 2 when the rest of the world's playing 35. And he can run you over doing that. He is a magician. So Norm Duke is my number 2.
My number 2, I'm gonna go with Mika, because when they had the shootout, whatever first match he was in, he won it pretty regularly, and just the way he was on the lanes, his intensity and his, it was different. I mean, it was a foreigner. I mean, it was learning another language, and just to watch how he had to bowl. I give it to him.
Good choice.
He's a hell of a shot maker.
Yep.
Hell of a shot maker.
My third one will be Pete Weber.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest talent the sport's ever seen, I think, and a lot of people think. But to win 30 times on the tour through 3 different generations of bowlers and equipment and lane surfaces and oil machines and travel and all the other shit, and through all the ups and downs of his storied career, to still be kicking it and be that great. And he's undoubtedly one of the greatest talents the sport's ever seen.
I'm going to agree with Weber, but so I'm not going to give you Pete then, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you one guy. He's a Hall of Famer, and I think he's the most underrated Hall of Famer there is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
I may know where you're going with this.
He's won the U.S. Open 3 times. He's Rad Rob's guy.
Houston.
Yeah.
Before you said the 3 U.S. Opens, that's who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. He is so underrated. But his story is different because he was in the bowling business anyway. He owned a center.
Mm-hmm.
So as he got older, he openly said it, when he made TV, he's only bowling, a quarter of the schedule or half of the schedule. He's back at home working.
Yeah, he was literally bowling just enough to do what he had to do to stay somewhat competitive, make a couple extra dollars, but he knew what he wanted to do a long time ago.
And he never bowled the seniors. He never bowled the senior tour.
Nope.
And you know what? That's a guy who he would have been very successful in the senior tour.
There's a lot of guys. I think about if Mike Albee bowled the senior tour. Think about if Ricky Ward went on the senior tour. That there's so many guys when you look back. Kelly Kaufman.
Did you see the newest 50-year-old is bowling the Masters this week?
Who's that?
The captain. Vernon.
Oh, Vernon Peterson. Yes, I did. I saw him a couple days ago on the first day of qualifying. Yeah.
Have you gone out to Sam's Town at all or no?
One time. I went to watch A Squad at 8 a.m. the first day.
Okay.
Dino looks great. Troy, my pick for the.
Oh my God, Troy's phenomenal, dude.
He's my pick to win.
Is he throwing purple?
Yes.
I don't even have to.
He didn't throw purple the entire time the first day, but he did the second day. But he went 120 over and 100 over. He's in 8th.
He's going to win on the national tour. He's going.
Oh,
he's too good.
Oh, yeah. He made the show at the national championship. Remember?
Yes, he did.
I mean, he's already knocking on the door, and now he knows he's good.
He has the confidence now. He knows.
That was the only thing that Troy ever lacked was 100% belief in himself.
Oh, and he has it now. He has it.
Now he has it.
And you know who turns 50 next year?
Who?
We just mentioned him. From Thousands Oaks, California.
Oh, yeah.
Bob turns 50 next year.
Bob who?
Robert Smith.
Oh, Robert.
Yeah.
Come on.
And he was one of my picks too.
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine Robert on the fucking senior tour. I said to somebody at Sam's Town, I said to Chad Lush at Sam's Town yesterday, I said, you want to know how I finally know I'm getting older? I'm watching the senior tour and they don't look that much older than me.
Right?
And to think that Robert Smith, who I play fucking Tiger Woods golf with on Xbox and go hit golf balls with and all this shit that we do out here, like to think that he's going to be a senior next year is nuts to me.
I'm actually coming. I talked to Robert Tuesday. He called me.
Yeah.
I'm going to bowl the Carl Ong Invitational, John, in October.
Oh, yeah?
It's in Arizona. You should. I don't know how far that is from you. How far is
Where in Arizona?
Chandler?
I don't know how far Chandler.
Robert said it's like 10 minutes from the airport, from the Phoenix airport.
Okay, so from Phoenix, it's 4 hours from me.
That's not bad, but I know he's coming out there, so I'm going to take the trip out there in October, and I'm bringing some guys out with me.
I might be able to do that.
I'll send you the flyer.
All right.
So there's my three, Derek. So there's our three.
My third is going to be Tommy Jones.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because how do you come off of a Hall of Fame weekend where you're inducted? I mean, you're inducted in the Hall of Fame. The adrenaline's going. It's like you had a great night the night before. You have a absolute shitball reaction in the semifinals of the third, of the Hall of Fame championship. And then you get lined up and shoot 300 in the title match. Plus, he had the highest winning percentage on the, he has one of the highest winning percentages on TV. How do you not go with that guy?
Excellent choice.
Phenomenal pick.
So
fantastic.
Who's your least favorite professional bowler? Professional bowler you can't stand, I guess.
Is this another top three or just one?
No, you can do whatever you want.
Do we have to watch ourselves on this one?
Nope.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one from the right and one from the left, and I'll give you my reasoning why.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, based off what I say, because I legitimately don't give a shit what anybody says about me anymore, because I'm already aware of all of it.
Oh, me too.
I've said it in one of my shows. I root against Brad Miller frequently.
Really?
Yeah, I feel that I feel personally attacked by his prestigiousness on the PBA tour with his lack of talent, comparatively speaking, and lack of contribution to the PBA tour. So I've always been jealous, I guess, of the relationship that Brad has with the PBA based off the fact that I think I can beat him. And I don't think I can beat a lot of people. So I would have to put him on the bottom rung for the right side. And then for the lefties, I was does it have to be a present bowler, or can we use
No.
On the left side, I really despised watching Chris Hayden bowl.
Really?
I mean, watching him not only made me prefer to watch paint dry, but his very, very just leisurely, gentle, relaxed style. Oh my God, I may as well just kill myself face all the time on top of it. Like, I would rather watch Sloth climb the tree in Ice Age than watch those two bowl.
You were talking about that last night a little bit, like the dream.
Yeah. Like the same way, like I love watching Ken Griffey Jr. swing a bat, but I hated watching Mickey Tettleton swing a bat.
Mickey Tettleton.
I don't care that the bat in the right spot. But then there's anomalies. Like obviously Mike Lickstein doesn't have a pretty game, but I enjoy watching Mike Lickstein.
Mike Lickstein's one of the top 5 left-handed bowlers to ever throw a bowling ball.
Right?
I'll argue that with anybody.
Yeah. So those are my no-goes. I root against them when they bowl.
All right. What do you got, Mike?
Do you want me to give you a lefty righty, or do you want me to give you
two?
Whatever
you want. This is your podcast. I'm the guest this week, so go ahead.
What?
Oh, wow. First of all, I don't like speaking ill of the dead. Roth.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I'm with you. Go. Tell me why.
So here's my 2 Roth stories. So my first ever regional, I bowled at Jersey Lanes in Linden when I was 18. This was like 2 weeks after I graduated high school. So I graduated a year before you. So Dennis Jakes, who just passed away. Dennis Jakes, yes, R.I.P. Dennis, was bowling at Strathmore. He kind of resurfaced. He was living in the Strathmore area, and he was bowling league there. Remember the doubles league we had in the summer, that big doubles league at Strathmore? So Dennis was bowling that. Yep. So Dennis, he told me that the regional, blah, blah, blah. Well, how do I bowl? So he called Russ Mills. He pulled a string. He got me in. My first ever regional, my cross was Al Jones from Rockaway. Great guy, passed away. Really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Stein love Steve. Love Steve Stein and Roth. That was my cross. And this was in 01, so this was when like Roth was on
the hammer staff.
Yes, correct. The resurgence of Roth with the hammer staff.
Oh boy,
so,
those balls stunk.
The wheel and the truck.
The 2001.
Oh, the blue 2001 was really good.
Yeah, that's the only one he liked.
That's the only one that was good. That's why. So I didn't go to the non-member meeting on Friday, and I didn't know about the lane courtesy PBA has. And I got up in the first game, and I jumped Roth. And he slammed his ball down, and he's just staring. I didn't know any better. So, like, a couple frames go by, I did it again. And one of our good friends, John, who I just saw a couple weeks ago, Lee Vanderhoff, was bowling next to me. Lovely. And Lee actually won the tournament. And Lee grabbed me. He goes, dude, you got to stop. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he explained the courtesy to me. Fine, no problem. Let's fast forward a year. I'm going to Brookdale, going to community school. And I'm running Strathmore. I was running the bowling center. Mike DeRose, God rest his soul, too.
Sean.
John. He calls me up. He calls the bowling center up. He goes,
Do you have any living people in your story? I'm just curious.
Yeah, because the second one will be a live person.
All right.
And DeRose calls me up and he goes, hey, did you hear the news of who died? I said, who died? Mark Roth died. I said, get out of here. He goes, no. He said, I just got a phone call from somebody. Roth passed away overnight. Holy shit. So I called, I don't remember who I called. I called somebody, asked if they knew, if they heard it, if Roth had died. No, we didn't hear anything. This was before Facebook and social media and whatnot. Well, somehow I got back to Roth, and Roth didn't die, obviously, he was alive.
Right.
Mark Roth came to Strathmore the next day looking to fucking kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked who Mike was. I said, you're talking to him. Like, I didn't know any better. He was in my face. You remember Marvin Gums, John?
Oh, yeah.
Marvin told him.
By the way, Derek, Marvin's dead, too.
Okay.
No. Marvin's alive.
Okay. Oh, is he?
No, Marvin's very alive.
I got him confused with Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie passed away. Marvin's very much alive. Well, Marvin.
Can you guys hear my dogs howling right now?
Is that Evelyn?
That's all three of them. Can you hear them?
I can hear Evelyn, yeah.
Barely.
All right, barely. I'm going to mute myself when I'm not talking.
You're good.
Right. So, so Roth comes over and he's in my face screaming at me. So here comes Marvin, like out of the back, like out of like the back office. And he grabbed Roth by the back of the collar. He goes, you have 30 seconds to get the fuck out of here and get out of his face before I stab you. And Marvin went into his pocket and he had a knife. And Roth left. So that's number one. Roth is my number one. Dave Arnold's my number two.
Sure.
You're laughing. Consider to be anybody. Great game.
I'll be right back.
John's gonna go murder a dog.
Yep.
Arnold had a great game, but like he said, watching paint dry.
Yeah. No emotion.
No emotion. Very, very blah. Very, very blah. But it was just unenjoyable. Like he would make the show. And like Johnny said, he would run out and he would just like walk out and didn't acknowledge the crowd. He was just boring to watch.
Totally.
I mean,
even Bo tried to like. Even Bo would say like, you know, not too much to this guy. You know, really simple game, self-taught, keeps to himself, and he's one of the best spare shooters on tour. And every time Bo would say that, Dave Arnold would miss 2 of the 3 spares he shot at on the show.
And who was his brother-in-law, John? Remember who his brother-in-law was?
Dave Arnold?
Yeah.
No.
Jess Stayrook.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Talk about two total opposites there.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I met Dave Arnold in 99 when I went to the U.S. Open in Milford. I know I'm a lot of person, but I'm a, 18-year-old kid who doesn't belong at a PBA event. And I went up to Dave Arnold and I said, so how do you feel about, your chances or whatever? He was, I made it to tonight. He signed my autograph and it was, but I mean, a year later we talked online and he's actually a really nice guy, but yeah, nothing to
totally.
him.
Yeah.
Nothing to him.
Brad Miller's a really nice kid.
Sure.
I don't have to root for him because he's a nice kid.
Everybody's a nice guy except for Roth. Roth,
Yeah.
John, you could, and I know you were close with Mark. How many times did you see Roth tell a fan to go F off, basically, like not
You
sign a
saw
pin
that,
all the
unfortunately. I
time?
hate to say it, but you saw that way more often than
Really?
yeah. One of the stories that my dad told me, like when I was being brought up, obviously I failed at this miserably, but I still try and maintain some level of professionalism, especially when I'm in my element. Um, but my dad said, people are going to look at you one of two ways, and it's all depending on how you present yourself. And he goes, I'll give you a prime example. He goes, Roth and I, when we would go sit in the box seats to go watch the Mets, we would go to the Met game together. And in the 70s, when they were both huge, um, there would be lines of people lining up for their autographs during the game, like real rock stars. And Roth would actually stand up and get vocal with the people and tell them to leave him the fuck alone, that he was there to watch a game. While my dad would try and say, Mark, come on, sign a couple. And then after we've at least done our due diligence, we can tell the other hundreds of people, like, sorry, guys, you're ruining everybody's view of the game. But Mark instantly was always kind of like, get the hell away. I hate to talk about one of the greatest of our sport,
Yeah.
but he wasn't the most personable athlete. And unfortunately, it's kind of the reason why, and without going into crazy further detail, but I will always sign an autograph for somebody. If somebody's going out of their way because they want my attention for 5 seconds, what kind of a shit scumbag person am I to not give them 5 seconds of my time?
Right.
And people
in my eyes, in my eyes, people that deny autographs are a person I don't really want to associate with to any extent anyway.
And you can see how big of a dick Weber can be on the lanes, but as soon as he's done with the block, he'll sign for an hour if he has to.
For hours.
Pete will never turn anybody down. He's the biggest
He
JO on the lanes
expects people, true professionals, especially competitive ones, just expect people to be self-aware the same way they are. Pete has no obligations other than not cursing when he's on television. He knows as a professional not to kick shit or break the scoring monitor.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also Pete's livelihood while he's out on the lanes.
That's his job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody asks shit for breaking a bat over his leg. Nobody ever gives anybody shit for punching the water cooler in the dugout at a baseball game.
But Tiger Woods cursing when he shanked a 6-iron into the water.
Exactly. If Bryson DeChambeau wants to snap a 6-iron because he shanked it to miss the cut at the Masters, nobody says anything. It's people are allowed to be discouraged when they're trying to put food on their table. But the people that are unaware or like have no self-awareness of, you know what? I just watched Pete Weber, who was one of the biggest hotheads in the PBA Bowl, 160 to miss the cut. This is probably not the best time as he's going to the locker room to ask him for his autograph.
Nope.
And if you do, Pete Weber's probably going to say, are you fucking serious, bro? And then you're going to go home and say, Pete Weber's a dick because he treated me like this. Not really. You're the asshole that had no self-awareness. And that's the way that professionals think to some extent. Because they're self-aware of themselves while they're trying to put food on their own table, they expect the same the same respect from the spectators.
Yeah.
So it's why professional athletes in every sport are always more apt to go up to the children. The children are there with their baseball gloves at a baseball game. They're not jumping over the fence saying, hey, Rod, or fucking Judge, sign this. The kid's sitting there with their eyes all open like, I envy this guy, and that's who's going to get the baseball from Aaron Judge.
Absolutely.
The innocence. And if people were more aware of that, bowlers, I think, would be less of a dick to them in their one encounter that they have with that professional.
Hit the nail right on
and
the head.
I if I'm going to give you two, and this might be controversial, if I'm going to give you two, I'm going to say, rest in peace, Billy Oatman and Kelly Kulick. Kelly Kulick, great professional. I just don't think what she did at the Tournament of Champions in 2010 is remarkable just because she's a female and it'd be like if
So you're discrediting what she did, you're saying?
A little bit.
How?
What's the difference between her beating Chris Barnes and Mike Albee beating Chris Barnes? I'm just saying, like, people gave her a lot of attention because she's a female, which is fine. But I don't discredit it. I just don't think it's absolutely remarkable. I just think that it's no different than a man beating Chris Barnes 267 to 195.
Are you discrediting it because she got into the tournament on on a stipulation.
I don't think he's discrediting it at all. I think what he's saying is he's actually making Kelly out to be more than just a woman, which is
Yeah.
what the label. In other words, he's saying
That she's
Kelly's
an
as
equal?
good. Kelly's as
Yes.
good as Mike Albee.
Yes.
Mike
Absolutely.
Albee could have equally beaten Chris Barnes in the like. If Kelly has a good look, she has as good a chance. The same way Liz Johnson has as good a chance to make a TV show that she bowls in with the men. I don't think it's necessarily a discredit. I
Okay.
think correct me if I'm wrong, Derek. I think what you're saying is that they put a lot more emphasis on her gender more so than her professionalism in the sport.
Yep.
That's a
So,
better
yeah.
way to say it there.
I apologize.
I know I understood you. I
missed
know
it. I
where
get it.
Mike's coming from, but I understood what you were saying from the minute you
See,
brought
that's
it
the
out.
feel good story there. They had to play the gender card for that one because it's
Gotcha.
never happened before.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly right. On the flip side, what Mike said, it's never happened before. And
No.
that brings up all the other shit where people want to talk about tennis. Serena Williams flat out said she can't beat the 200 best tennis player in the world that's a guy. So so when you compare somebody like Serena Williams, who I think could beat anybody in tennis, if she's saying that she can't beat a guy, yeah, it's definitely amazing when the first woman ever wins a title. But it was, again, now back to Mike's side. This is people that, if people aren't critical thinkers, they don't get this. Back to Mike's side, like I just said, Liz Johnson was there earlier than Kelly, and Liz Johnson did more to earn her spot in the tournament that she made TV in. And she made two shows. She made the show at Cheetah, and she made the show where she beat Wes and lost to TJ.
Yeah.
And Kelly entered a tournament of champions, which up until that year was only invited champions.
But
And
Kelly also
wasn't
got
one.
through. But Kelly got through tour trials too, though. You
Yes,
gotta
she
give her
did.
credit. She
There's
was
another
the first
thing.
who's-
And that
Yeah.
goes back to Derek's side of the coin. She
Yeah.
was kicking guys' asses for 5 days. Who's to say Kelly's not going to beat Chris Barnes in the title match of the TSC?
Yeah.
But, and like you said, Mike, the feel-good story. That's a story. Cut it right up the middle. It works either way you talk about it.
Yeah.
But tell me why you don't like Billy Oatman.
Yeah.
God rest.
Overthinker.
Okay.
The guy is. I watched, and I've only seen one match where I watched him bowl with Parker in Spartanburg in 07. And it's middle of the frame. He leaves a 6-pin. He has no ball reaction. And he's just like, instead of making the 6-pin in and sitting down and trying to figure it out, why not just, why would you try to shoot for the pocket when you have a single pin right there in the middle of the game? It was just, you know, when you watch that match, he was just overthinking everything.
You're telling me in the Spartanburg show that Billy Oatman deliberately missed a 6-pin to test the ball in the middle of the game?
I think so. Yeah. I
think
so.
we need to revisit that. Because if you are correct, that's
a ballsy move.
That's I hate to play devil's advocate. You know me, man. I always like to listen to learn.
Yep.
But I think maybe we should rewatch that match.
Okay.
There's a very good chance now. This is idiotic as well, but let's say he left a big 4 or something like that.
That's a different story.
And he threw a test shot. You're still giving away a shitload of pins and wood, especially if you're on a strike.
Yeah.
But if you felt it was necessary, like if you were down 30 and you needed to throw the back 6 to shoot 2-10 and have a prayer, I get that. But deliberately missing a spare after you worked all week just to get the TV, and that was an arena telecast. I don't think Billy Oatman flagged the spare on purpose. But going back to what you said, Derek, yeah, Billy was always an overthinker. It's why he didn't make a lot of shows. It's why the only shows that he did make was when all the lefties were bowling well. Spartanburg featured 4 lefties on that show. I know Rhino was on that show too. Parker, Billy Oatman.
Scroggins.
So Billy Oatman always bowled well when the left bowled well. But
he's the example of, and I hate using this line, and your father and I talk about this all the time, when the lefties have it, they have it.
Right.
And when the left had it, Oatman had it.
Exactly.
When the left didn't have it, Oatman couldn't find it.
But you could tell that Billy Oatman was an overthinker just simply by watching him shoot a 7-pin.
Absolutely.
The man was 40-something years old, and who only uses their thumb in their spare ball when they shoot a 7-pin?
I've never heard of it.
Steve Wonderlick used to do that.
Oh.
Did he?
Yeah, well, and then look at Dickinson. Dickinson used to shoot with one finger as well.
I'm fine with taking one finger out. Billy Oatman shot 7 pins only using his thumb.
Yeah, and it was like shooting craps at that point.
Right. Like, you think that's your best chance at shooting a 7-pin? Like, my God, what's going on in your brain? That's what Derek is saying. Totally.
Yeah.
Right. What's the bowler that you can't stand, or the bowlers you can't stand? What would they have to do to turn it around for you and say, hey, they're not that bad?
They couldn't for me.
Okay.
My 2 picks. It's, again, I don't dislike them.
Sure.
I just dislike watching them bowl. I dislike what they stand for in the game.
Okay.
I'm a huge Jason Couch fan. I love left-handers that curve the bowling ball. I was a huge Ryan Simonelli fan. I was a huge Steve Cook fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Dad fan. I'm a huge Parker fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and all of them bring things to the table that, to me, guys like Rick Lawrence and Chris Hayden never did.
Oh,
Peter
God.
Hernandez. There's like different batches of
Riga
lefties.
Kalfas.
Yep.
Riga's like one step above the 3 guys I just mentioned in my brain. But like, there's different tiers of us. When you're lefty, you group lefties differently. Like, I group Albee and Parker and Couch. They're all together. Jacob Buttriff is getting there right now, just simply because he's the best lefty. Jesper Svensson's knocking on that door. Those are way different lefties than like Matt Sanders, Matt Russo,
Anthony Pepe.
And Anthony Pepe's not as good as Matt Russo or like a Kevin Williams.
Well,
that's your second tier of lefties, is what
Michael
I'm saying.
Martell. Michael Martell.
Michael Martell is down there with Simonelli right now. And again, these are all great, exceptional players that are light years better than me. I think Michael
Martell is more talented than Kevin Williams is.
Michael Martell dedicates his life to the sport, which is why he's gotten where he is.
Yeah.
Physical game is not good. I mean, a lot of things have to go right, and somehow, because he's such a great practicer, they all work together.
Yeah, they all the stars align for him.
Yeah, he's a little bit flicky. He's got a lot of upper body movement throughout the swing.
He's strong with up here. It's strong, exactly.
Yeah, he's figured out a way to make it work. So I put him, but I'm not going to ever say that he's going to be knocking on the door the way Buttriff is. No. I don't think he's going to have more cashes or TV shows than Kevin Williams does.
Yeah.
But when I rank my lefties, I rank them pretty much by tiers. Like, my dad is not in the elite tier. My dad is not in the Earl Anthony, Parker Bone III, Mike Albee category. Mm-hmm. The same way I think that Couch is just below the elite category. I think Couch and my dad are kind of close, and in the second tier down.
Earl, Parker, Albee. Who are the other 2?
For the greatest lefties of all time?
Put Dave Davis in there?
No, I don't put Dave Davis ahead of my dad. I put him with my dad.
What about PA?
PA is around my dad. I think you can consider putting my dad in the top 5 for the lefties of all time. Yeah, absolutely there. But it's definitely Parker, Albee.
Parker, Albee, Earl. 100%.
Earl, 100%. We'll throw Dad in there, and then from there, it's kind of a toss-up for the 5th.
I've said this a bunch of times, and I've said it publicly. I put Litch in there. I put Mike Lickstein, and he never bowled professionally, but what he's done with a bowling ball through the years, in everything he's won, he is outstanding. There is no doubt in my mind Litch would have not had a Hall of Fame career if he bowled on tour.
Oh,
he was that good. He was that good.
And he
still is.
Oh yeah, he's a good man too.
He's a phenomenal human being. What he won? He's won the roller twice, a couple
Eagles,
everything, and 45 NEBA title. I mean, the guy is just
everything there is to win.
Would you put Cook ahead of Dad?
No, I wouldn't put him ahead of Dad. I'd put him damn near equal or close.
So you would put Cook, PA, and Dad all in the same sentence?
No, because my dad's done more things than PA and Cook. Cook won more national titles, but Cook doesn't have a Triple Crown. PA has won more in a single season, but has less titles than Dad and does not have a Triple Crown. Neither of those guys have a televised 300. Neither of those guys have titles in 7 decades. Neither of those guys have 3 PBA presidencies. Neither of those guys have a tournament named after them for a decade. Neither of those guys are ambassadors to the sport. My dad's tenure on top of his performance throughout the years is what makes my dad a top 5.
You don't have one of those.
No, I don't have one of those. I'm kind of jealous.
I got one for you. Don't worry. Thanks. Yeah. No, agreed. Good point.
All right. So, all right, guys, it's that time. What is your problem? Open bowling rant. What is your problem with bowling, the PBA, USBC? What's your problem with your league? Anything. Just what's wrong with professional bowling? What's wrong with bowling in general? Let it go, guys.
The governing body is a piece of shit.
Chad Murphy.
Okay.
The governing body of what the remaining 1.8 million members want to do to enjoy themselves in this life is being denied by the governing body. They are literally going out of their way to eliminate an entire portion of bowling to line their own pockets while bowling is still somewhat relevant, because in 15 more years, 20 more years, bowling is going to become less and less relevant. I talked about this last night on my show. The introduction of the string pin setters, the closing of mom and pop bowling alleys, the sellout to the larger corporations.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing left for bowling to try and make bowling popular anymore.
Mm-hmm.
In other words,
there's one thing that I could think of to do that.
Money.
No, better than that.
All right, go ahead.
You talking about on the professional level you're talking about, or as a whole?
No, I'm talking about bowling. I'm talking about the sport of bowling in the United States. What I mean by there's nothing left to offer is we already can't get people to bowl. We're below 2 million members. 20 years ago, we were above 4 million. 35 years ago, we were above 8 million members. So in a span of 40 years, we have lost approximately 60% of our bowling population. We're not even ranked number one participatory sport in the United States anymore.
Now we're number two. Forever.
And we were that since the inception of time. In 10 more years, because once you go beyond two-handers, once you go beyond throwing pins everywhere and hooking the entire bowling lane, there's nothing else that's exciting about bowling and putting bowlers on a 60-foot, 6-inch lane, throwing 16 pounds at 30 pounds of wood, 40 pounds of wood. So in 10 more years, as technology continues to take over and the human element continues to get taken out of play, the same way when you go to a grocery store at a checkout line, you don't talk to a person anymore. You got to do it yourself. Now, when you go to a bowling alley, you don't even need a mechanic to reset or fix machines anymore. In 10 more years, bowling is going to become a carnival game. It's going to be something that is played at carnivals when somebody's coming through with a stub lane. And eventually, the only bowling alleys that will survive are the ones that keep all the money and take all the money for themselves. And they continually shit on the smaller guy until they're eventually gone and the sport itself is gone. I project by 2040, we're going to start to see no more bowling in the United States. That's honestly what I believe.
So I've said this before. This guy, there's one way to save the PBA, but the idea that I have, or I'm not even my idea. I'm stealing the idea from somebody. I'm not going to say who I'm stealing it from. This guy said this to me on how to save the PBA, and his idea would be great if said person would purchase the PBA and also purchase the USBC. And here's the guy. Is there a more recognizable athlete in the world that loves to bowl more than Mookie Betts?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yep.
Now, if Mookie Betts, who loves to bowl, and he's a pretty good bowler too, like I would say, John, out of all the celebrity bowlers, Jerome Bettis, Chris Paul, Jimmy Allen, Mookie is by far the best, right? Hands down. Johnny's muted again. By far, he's the best. Can't hear him. Johnny's muted.
No question.
Yeah.
And Mookie is light years ahead of all those guys, and he's a good bowler.
Yeah. So let Mookie Betts purchase not only the PBA, but the USBC as well.
Yeah.
And let Mookie Betts hire the right people to run the future of it. Now you have an owner who is one of the most recognizable faces in the world when it comes to professional sports. He's the starting right fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That says enough right there. You know he's financially secure. He loves the game. He would give back and then build around that. Let Mookie build the right people to run that organization the way it should be run. And a guy like that is not going to put his name on garbage, right? And along with that, John, think of this, guys. Mookie has the endorsements from, let's just say, I don't know, Nike or whatever, Under Armour or New Balance, whatever it is, right? He has all the sponsorships that bowling doesn't have. Well, now Mookie's signing on to own a bowling organization. You don't think they're going to follow Mookie? So there's your sponsorship. Like, he could bring so much to the table.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
great.
That's the way I think you could save bowling right there. A guy like that, like the Live Tour. I know that's totally different though, John, but
not in concept.
No, not really. But if you had a guy like Mookie Betts, somebody like that stature, that decided, hey, I want to buy the PBA or I want to buy the USBC because I generally love the sport, have at it, man. Go for it.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I like that.
And Derek, one other thing.
Sure.
And John, you kind of touched on this last night, how people get ridiculed all the time in the bowling world, right? Like, what was Rob saying about like the like comments and being said, right?
I was speaking out against. I can't stand people who go out of their way to make people feel bad, or like. So when you're on Bowl TV and you're watching a live bowling and they have the live comments scroll on the side, there's a ton of people that throw in their comments, so the scroll goes by a lot. So throughout the telecast, that's typically 3 hours long, sometimes Emil or whoever's in, Mike Flanagan will say, and for those of you just joining us, if you're interested in knowing what lane your favorite bowler's on, click the trophy icon in the corner, and you can click on lane assignments and see where your bowler's bowling. Now, some people don't know that trophy icon does that because it immediately opens the comments, and some people aren't there for 3 hours and don't hear that announcement being made once every 15 minutes or however long they make it.
Mm-hmm.
So people are in this fucking chat and we're watching bowling, and an interested spectator comes in and says, "Hi guys, can anybody tell me what lane Belmo's on?" And the first 5 responses is never the lane Belmo's on. It's click the trophy. They just announced what lane he was on. Weren't you here earlier when we were just talking about that? Get with the game. And I'm looking there and I'm like, you pieces of fucking shit, man.
Yep.
You'll spend 10 seconds demeaning somebody and telling them to go figure out shit on their own rather than spending 2 seconds to type in number 5 and number 2 and then enter. People that think that way, I fucking cannot stand, dude. Like, I've gotten to a point now that I have no problem judging somebody in the first 10 seconds that I meet them because I'm bubbly and nice when I meet somebody. When I walk up to a bar and there's a guy or a girl or a grandma or a fucking teenage kid that shouldn't even be at the bar sitting next to me, the first thing I do when I'm ordering my drink and I'm friendly with the bartender is I will turn to that person who's sitting by themselves and I will say, "Hey, nobody likes to drink alone. You want to have a toast? I'll buy you a shot."
Like that lady we had at South Point, the grandma, when we were there together.
Yeah, and 8 out of 10 times, they will always, in their own way, say something like, "Oh, sure, that'd be great," or "Yeah, why not? I've had a shit enough day," or "I'm not going to deny free liquor." And no matter how they answer, they're still accepting of the gesture, right?
Sure.
But then you get the other person that says, "Why are you talking to me?" I don't give a fuck what else happened in your day or what else you have to say. I will never speak to you again in the first 10 seconds of knowing you.
Why
I'm
are you
going out
talking
of my
to me?
way to extend my kindness to you, and you're going out of your way to shit on me.
Right.
I feel the same way for anybody that pops in. I'm here because I love bowling and I want to know what lane my favorite bowler's on. And I'm going to ask the people that are here before me. And those assholes have to go out of their fucking way to make that person feel like an idiot that they don't know where to look for it. Fuck those people, man. That was what my rant was about last night.
Yep.
That's a good one too.
My whole thing, whenever somebody comes on here or whatever, I'm always like, geez, why would they come on my podcast? They could do anything with their life and they choose to spend an hour with me. That's amazing.
Well, that speaks a lot about your character too, Derek.
Of course. Look at the murderer's row of people you've had on this show.
Exactly.
Yeah. Adam
Colton, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Adam Colton.
Don
what a blast
Moser.
from the past. Don Moser.
Who says he's not
We'll get Gil
relevant.
Sliker next.
What's that?
John, we
Gil
get
Sliker? Right after Bill Beach.
First player to ever win on the senior tour is Bill Beach.
Bill Beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and to kind of not to step back, but I asked Weber if he wanted to be on here, and he said, "Well, you can have 20 minutes." Guys, we've been talking for an hour. If we were doing this for 20 minutes, would this have been a good episode? I don't think so. So,
that's okay.
Yeah.
To each their own, man.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
The amount of interviews He's had to do over his career. I think maybe he's done doing it. He's
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
talk to Pete about wrestling instead of bowling.
Sure. So
Yeah.
you guys might have covered this, but what did the PBA do a long time ago that they should do today?
ABC, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon.
Mike, you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
You can't compete against the NFL. So them having a show on a Sunday, I don't think they do that much anymore, is fine. But you can't have the casual fan having to find somebody on FS4 or ESPN 8, ESPNU.8. Like, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's where the Mookie Betts idea makes total sense. If Mookie Betts is by the PBA, he can bring sponsorship back. And I've said this on my show a couple times. You want to get sponsors. Like, look at the sponsors that the PBA had in the 70s and the 80s. Miller, Budweiser, Quaker State, AC Delco, right, John? Choice
Firestone.
Hotels, Firestone, exactly. These are big corporations in corporate America. So what's popular today? Well, what about the crypto market? You go after crypto, right? You can go after technology, like IT sort of stuff, things like that. Those are the companies that you want on board to sponsor your events.
Or you want like two of the sponsors from the PGA Tour. Like, well, let's take Workday and NetJets, and then we would be just fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just one of them. You know, I think you would see more guys classify themselves as a professional bowler if A, the schedule was longer, and B, the prize funds were better. And I'm not being a jerk off when I say this. I make more money a year than just about, I want to say, 3 guys on the PBA Tour.
I'm not being a jerk off either. I make more money than the guy who finishes 10th.
Yes,
in money.
Agreed. So for me, like, if I'm me, let's just say, John, I'm going to classify, say, like a John Fury, and this is not a knock at John. I'm going to just use John as the example because John bowled a lot of national stops, right?
And does well a lot.
He does.
So he's a
very
perfect
successful.
example.
Yeah, but is it? If I'm John and I don't have a pro shop, right? I'm just regular, Mike V, and I have the talent of John Fury, right? But I go on the tour and I make what, $1,200 a cash for, or a cash for $2,000. That's not paying the bills. I can make more money going to work at Home Depot.
Yeah, you get the goal of that level professional
is to win.
Simply got to be, I love this and I want to follow my dream.
Correct.
It's the same as a guy and his 3 friends who love. Do you know how many groups of 4 guys got together in the 70s and probably made music as beautiful as Freddie Mercury and Queen?
Oh, yeah.
Thousands. Everybody has the aspirations of making it to the big time. Everybody has aspirations of making $500,000 a year on the PBA Tour, like Kyle Troup did once. And prior to that, nobody ever did. Everybody has aspirations of that. And eventually what happens to most people is real life sets in. And the people that push the hardest and get the luckiest at the same time, where all the stars align, are usually the guys that make it.
How about
the rock and roll industry, the bowling industry, the baseball industry? Doesn't matter.
How about Chris Moneymaker, John? That's a perfect example there.
Perfect example. That's what everybody dreams. Wow. Everybody dreams of knowing pretty much next to nothing about something and going in and having the week of their lives and coming out a millionaire.
Exactly.
That's what most people want in this life, is the instant gratification. And it happens to 0.0000001% of people on this planet.
I know we laugh at him and we kind of make fun of him because of the way he looks, but take Traber Dale, right?
Okay.
How good of a bowler is Dale Traber?
He's excellent.
He's excellent. We think he's excellent. People in this generation would probably look at him and say, he's a big fat guy and he stinks. He throws it, he's a 225 rev rate. Okay.
I still said that about him then.
Yeah.
I said, this fucking guy's fat and he stinks. He's still a great bowler.
He's fantastic. He's in both of the Hall of Fames. He's a phenomenal player, right? People here see him and they, he's not flashy. You're right. He's not flashy, but he can thread the needle, right? There's a guy who probably could have made it on tour. And what did he do for a living, John?
Worked in the J.C. Penney
Penney
catalog warehouse.
There you go. That's an example of he can make more money at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of these guys have to say to themselves. There's no
And
money in bowling.
And John Fury is the perfect example because John is the one that's decided, like a lot of other guys, I love this sport enough and I love the competition enough that I want to be involved with it, but make supplemental income while staying involved in it. So he stays sharp at his craft by having his store and giving lessons. Everything about John's life revolves around bowling, and he's made himself a suitable way of living to a point that he can go away on weekends, bowl anything he wants. He can travel. He has his store paid for. He's in a good spot. He's in a great bowling center that's not going anywhere, at least for now. Surrounded by good people. John is the one who put everything together, and good for him. But that doesn't happen to everybody.
So what's the answer? Do you give like $100,000 for first place at the PBA Snickers Open or whatever, and then like $1 million for the U.S. Open? Would that fix it?
Well,
it's not the first place money, Derek. It's how shitty the money is underneath it.
Exactly.
Chris Prather made $300,000 last year. This year he finished 15th on the money list and made less than 30.
And that's less than somebody out of college getting a job in corporate America.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's day and age, $30,000 you can't even wipe your ass with.
No, $30,000 you're surviving for maybe like 3 weeks. I hate to say it like that.
It's I mean, I don't know where.
And what people don't realize too, John, I'm sorry, that 30 grand that Prather made, he has to pay taxes on that. Taxes aren't coming out of that.
Yep.
So that 30
and he had to travel
23.
to all the stops too, Mike. He had to travel and stay in hotel rooms or whatever house that they're renting and all this other shit. He still has to pay all that.
He has to live
3 meals a day.
Yeah, he has to live. Derek, but Johnny's right though. It's not the first place money, but if they put $1 million up for the U.S. Open for first place, a 7-figure payday for first,
right?
That can't be an invitational. That has to be the U.S. Open again.
Derek, if you go out on the PGA Tour for one season and you average par for the entire year, you're a millionaire in 1 year.
How much did Scotty Scheffler make last year? $14 million, not counting the FedEx Cup.
That's in just earnings.
Not counting the FedEx Cup. He made $14 million last year.
That's just earnings. That has nothing to do with incentive money from his companies or anything along those lines, or how many years he's allowed to compete in each of the events that he's already won.
What about the soccer guy that everybody's talking about him today? Is it Messi? Is that his name?
Lionel Messi. What about?
Is that the guy? He's coming to play in the MLS in Miami. But he turned down. I don't know.
He turned down an astronomical amount of money. Yeah,
$1 billion contract. This guy turned down. That's a soccer player.
Yeah, and Chris Prather, who's one of the best bowlers walking the planet these days, made the same amount of money as the guy in the drive-through line at McDonald's.
You know what's funny, John? I'm gonna read this, and Derek, you'll appreciate this.
Mm-hmm.
John, you posted this, and I saved this because it's an amazing paper that was posted.
Mm-hmm.
PBA money winning world record, the amazing 1971. You know what I'm talking about, John? You remember that thing you posted?
I do. Mm-hmm.
So this was his father's stats from 71, Derek.
Okay.
This was I believe at this point this was the all-time earnings leader for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
$380. Las Vegas, third place, $5,000. 18th place, $5.25. Fifth place, $3,500. I'm sorry, $3,000. 15th, $1,100. He wins in Winston-Salem for $10,000. All right. Third place, Milwaukee, $3,000. 34th, Toledo, $400.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes fifth place, $3,000. Then he goes win, win, win. 7,000, 7,500. Wins the Fires Room for $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
He won how much? Was it 81,000 he won that year?
81,600.
That was the all-time earnings record for one season in 1971. And if you equate that to today's dollar, $250,000, maybe?
I'd go just about
higher?
300.
Okay,
just
like
about 300.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's doing that on the PBA Tour.
Right.
Get the sponsorship.
And the worst part about it is go back and read some of those. You read fifth place, $3,000. Fifth place in the non-majors. Fifth place in the ladies on the ladies tour is $3,000.
So he got third place in Chicago for $4,000.
Yeah.
Fifth
And in
place.
1994, when he finished third in the national championship that he bowled 300 on, it paid $8,000.
That was a shitty prize fund for some reason.
Horrible.
That was a really shitty.
27 first and $5,000 fifth. It was a shit prize fund for a major.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Robert
Or he finished second in Seattle for $2,200.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Lawrence wins the U.S. Open in '92. Only takes home $40,000.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the U.S. Open never used to have those $100,000 paydays. I mean, Seagram's put it up for 2 years, but then it went back to normal.
Right.
When the
the big one was when the TSC went to $60,000 and you got a boat.
Correct.
That was the money. Then second place paid $33,000. It was very rare that third place paid higher than $10,000 in the mid '90s. But like the TSC paid $12,000 to third, $10,000 to fourth, and $8,000 to fifth. No, I'm sorry. The TSC paid $60,000 to the winner, 33 to second, 24 to third, 12 to fourth, and $10,000 to fifth.
Yeah, and then sometimes you would sometimes see like sixth place would get like $9,000, or some events you get like 10,000 for sixth place when they ran the top 24.
Right. Yeah, but the normal number for third place money was around $8,000 in the mid '90s.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and then like the Johnny Petraglia Open had a decent prize fund. Like the top spot paid $34,000. That was a good prize fund. The Quaker State paid well. The AC Delco played well. The Tums Classic was not good. It should have been. But yeah, but even nowadays the main events, they don't even tell you how much they're making. They don't even tell you the prize because they're embarrassed. There's no other way to put it.
And that's why guys would rather stay home.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why you only see X amount of guys bowling in these events now, guys. It's not rocket science.
If you're a super player, like 18, 19 years old, you know what? I'll give you another one, John. Andrew Lazarchik.
Let's just take Kevin McCune.
Andrew Lazarchik. No, because McCune's different. Take Andrew Lazarchik. Andrew is a very talented bowler, and he's young. That's why I'm going to say him, right? If Andrew had aspirations of going to go bowl on the PBA Tour, he's insane for doing that. There's no money. Brandon Bone, right? How talented is Brandon? Very. He wants to bowl on tour in the worst way, but financially, it's not. I don't think it's worth it to take your card.
And that's a kid who has the advantages to not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Think about somebody like Brandon Bone, talent that doesn't have the connections into the sport.
Like
trying to go out there.
Yeah.
Like Andrew. Imagine if Andrew was Brandon's talent. I mean, it's upsetting, man.
And years ago, Derek, these guys, that were these super talented guys, they were called professional amateurs, and the best professional amateur, John, ever was Mike Newman. And there's a guy, Mike Newman, and Rudy, and Barnes, before they went on. These guys, Timmy Mack, made a living.
Robert Smith.
They all did it. Pat Healy, throwing a bowling ball as an amateur. Those tournaments are gone now. Globally, not just domestically, globally, they are gone.
Yeah. So, guys, have fun with this one. Who should be the PBA lane side reporter, if anyone?
You're talking to the both of them.
I was just gonna say me.
Put one of us in the booth. Put the other one on the floor. I would put John on the floor and me in the booth.
Sure. Okay.
I think because John's more personable and easier to look at it on the eyes. So let John interview somebody after commercial break in the seventh frame.
Or what they should do is rotate the sideline reporter like they used to every week. Like every week, the sideline reporter would interview the player at the same time before and after the matches. But one week it would be John Mazza, then it would be Curtis Odom, then it would be my dad,
Parker,
then it would be Parker. There'd be somebody different that everybody knew. But at least the guys that were always doing the interviews had some sort of a fucking clue how to speak, how to ask questions, and be somewhat involved in the sport that they're commentating.
So let's go down the line here. I'm going to give you some names, and you tell me how you think they did if you remember. Leslie Goodell, Holly Rowe, Erica Herskowitz, Beth Moen.
Leslie Goodell, I always thought was good. I thought that she was a good reporter.
Yeah.
I thought that she
was a journalist.
She took her job seriously and professionally.
Mhm.
The second one, Holly Rowe, that was the short blonde-haired lady, right?
Yep.
She only did it for a short amount of time.
Yep.
I
Majors.
thought she was fine too. I thought that she was the third one. I don't remember the Polish name that you said, or
Herskowitz.
Yep.
Herskowitz, the Jewish name, whatever it is. It's actually Jewish and Polish. I don't remember her per se.
Beth Moen, she was there in like 07. She did the Masters in 07. I mean, I would be surprised if you remembered her. I mean, she only did basically one telecast, but
Kimberly Presto needs to go.
oh,
yeah,
she does. Oh my god,
she's just not good.
So no, she's
It's
not.
sad because I'm sure she's a lovely lady.
Yep.
And she's easy on the eyes, but
Yep.
I stopped worrying about how easy people are on the eyes a long time ago. And now I kind of worry what's in between the ears. And she's just, if she's not missing it, she's certainly not doing anything to find it. So there's something missing there.
She interviewed Eugene McCune at Carolier when Kevin won the Players.
Yep.
Exactly.
John, if that was you, how great of a spot would that have been if a bowler is interviewing Eugene McCune, knowing how nuts he can get? And
how great would it be?
Right?
If a 38-year-old son of a PBA legend was interviewing the guy that I looked up to when I was bowling and I sang karaoke with, watching his 23-year-old son bowl for a major.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just the sheer raw emotion would have made that interview better than Kimberly's.
Yeah. And you don't even have to do it during the match. Do it, after a commercial, like in between matches.
Right.
You could do like a little 4-minute spot with Eugene.
Mhm.
A fantastic spot.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She needs to go. That's
Does Rob. So does Rob Stone.
It's a bad duo. I've said that a million times. Randy without Rob is okay as long as it's somebody like Dave Ryan or Dave Lamont, because they ground Randy.
Mhm.
But when Rob Stone is in the booth, Rob Stone assumes the same role that Randy does, and they both completely start acting like
like it's a frat house.
completely incompetent assholes. And they feed off each other's energy to a point that they completely neglect the viewer's take of what they're watching.
And when you put a third in the booth, like when you put Duke or Barney in the booth with them,
Yep.
you can kind of be like, you get the sense of like, really, this is this is what I signed up for.
Right.
But one of those guys with them is fantastic. But if you put a competent broadcaster like Al Michaels or Bob or Joe Buck,
Dave Lamont, we have him.
Perfect.
We need Dave Lamont every week. He's the best commentator since Schenkel and Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Better than Durbin and Earl?
Couldn't stand Earl as a commentator. I thought he shit on everybody.
What about Marshall?
I feel like Marshall was okay, but again, remember when I talked about being self-aware? Marshall was very, very bad at being quiet in certain situations. Like, for instance, when Rory McIlroy is standing over a 6-foot putt to win the Masters, what do you hear while he's aiming?
Zero.
Yep.
Exactly.
You hear the birds at Augusta.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go watch Marshall Holman commentate, if you ever watch a show where somebody's on the front 10 or the front 11 and the crowd is cheering, Marshall would always try and commentate at a higher volume than the cheering in the pressure-packed situations where your job is to be silent.
Yeah.
You'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
If you go back in and analyze it that way. So I like Marshall. I think he brings a lot of good stuff to the table, but I didn't like his placement of his speech as a commentator. I thought Mike Durbin was a little bit too combative with Denny Schreiner in the booth, and I couldn't stand when Mike would go, "Oh!" when he took support bid.
Yep.
I think that Dave has that perfect announcer voice, and he brings a little bit more professionalism and like a little more involvement with the player.
And Randy has the professionalism, but Randy needs to talk more about the game, like what they're seeing out there. Like talk more about the moves or the equipment or surface. Like
less about himself. He has to do less relating to his glory days.
Yep. And when he leaves a stone 8, or when somebody leaves a solid 8, I can't say that pin, Rob. I can't say that pin.
Yeah. I mean,
yes, you can.
Guys, in case you didn't know, when my dad bowled 300 at a major, the following match, my dad left a solid 9 to lose. And he would have won the major championship also. But he doesn't fucking talk. And that's the problem is when you exit your career as a dominant pro for a long time in the fashion that Randy did exit, no matter how successful Randy's become as a commentator, and I'm sure Randy's doing perfectly fine financially, and he's probably happy in life living in Florida, whatever he's doing nowadays. But Randy's exit from professional bowling was ugly.
Mhm.
He got fucked with that Stone 8, which we knew about it 30 years ago. There's no reason to keep talking about it.
The exempt tour fucked them.
And then
Yeah.
whatever happened with that kid in the stands when he had the chance to be exempt, and then he was not exempt, and he had to change his life. Randy's exit from the tour was abrupt. It was way, way too quick, and he's never, ever, ever let it go. He lives with that chip on his shoulder.
You know who would be great to bring in the booth with him?
Who?
And take Dave Lamont out of it for a second. If you wanted to put two bowlers in the booth, keep Randy, put Brian Voss in the booth with him.
Ooh, yes.
Be a good one.
And a great job when he was filling in for Randy.
Voss has done a couple shows. He's done some telecasts.
Voss is good in the booth. So is Duke.
So is Duke, exactly. Bring guys that lived it forever, and you can do the color on it. I mean, anybody can do it. It's not hard.
You do have to be careful. You got to make sure, because the only thing that I worry about with guys like Duke and Voss is you have to be less about yourself in the booth.
Yep.
You have to be more about them. And Randy, very, very much about himself, obviously. Norm Duke has always been the best at disguising that he's about himself. Brian Voss has become slightly more vocal that he's about himself and his views. And all three, like Norm left on his own, fine. Norm has plans to do whatever he's going to do, fine. Voss left unwillingly and decided to hate the game for transitioning into the way that it did, and now spends most of his days trying to convince people that the old way is the right way. Randy tries to convince everybody that, his life would have been so much different had it not been for the Stone 8 or the kid in the crowd that ruined his chances at an exemption. He will never, ever say to you it's the fact that he let his game get away from him and didn't work hard enough to maintain it. And you need somebody more like a Mike Albee in the booth, somebody who is
even
a player that is trying to explain to the viewer what the professional that is in the moment is thinking, not what you were thinking about 20 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah. Is there a PBA rule that you guys agree with?
PBA rule that we agree with?
Yep.
The lane courtesy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Everybody finishes at the exact same time unless there's a lane breakdown.
Okay.
Every shift is the exact same amount of time. Nobody bitches at anybody. Everybody knows when it's their turn, obviously, except for Mike when he's bowling Mark Roth. But other than that, I like the lane courtesy.
Yeah, the lane courtesy is good. Lane courtesy is a good one.
I would get screwed up by that because I'm so used to one lane that I would try my best, but I would be off the tour because I could just never get the lane courtesy.
It's a lot easier than you think, Derek. You just have to be in it at least once. You look at one bowler on your left go and one bowler on your right go. And when they're done, you go.
It's the
pair.
If
you leave a 10-pin, they both go again, and then the other guy in your pair goes before you. And then you got to wait for the other two guys again, and then you go.
So, okay, hold on. So if you're bowling on lane 10, then the guy on lane 9 and the guy on lane 11 goes, and then you go.
No.
No. If you're on 9 and 10, and you're the only one at the ball return, let's say you're on lane 10.
Yep.
You wait for the guy that's either on lane 7 or 8 and the guy who's on 11 or 12.
Yep.
It's a one pair courtesy both directions.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
So the guy on 7 and 8 goes and the guy on 11 and 12 goes, then you go.
And sometimes they'll hey, go finish your spare. They'll say fuck the courtesy.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, it's one pair each way.
All right. Mike, did you have one thing?
I agree with that one. That's a great one. The courtesy is fantastic.
PBA rule you disagree with?
I don't know if this is a rule, but I hate the fact that now on the show, you got guys running off set to go talk to your ball reps. That absolutely ticks me off to no end.
I get it.
It makes it look like a B level or a C level rating show. Like these guys, they don't know where to go sit. And yeah, I agree with you there, Mike.
But not
sit
even
in your
that,
fucking chair, man, and bowl your match.
Yeah, but not even that part of it. It's also saying who just made it? Give me somebody made a show.
I'm not talented enough to figure this out on my own.
Exactly.
I made it all the way to the TV show, and I still need my fucking ball rep to tell me what ball to throw and where to stand.
Right.
Even though I'm the best bowler in the world.
See, it's different like a caddy to golf, right? That's a different comparison. And years ago, and we were fortunate because we had to stop at Carolier, and we always caddied the pros, right, John?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So I remember one year I caddied for Pat Healy, and Pat Healy was on staff at Columbia back then. And this is when Chad Murphy was the national ball rep for Columbia 300.
I remember.
So in match play, Chad would go to the next pair Healy was going to, scope the pair out, and then, oh, Pat, by the way, you're going to 35 and 36. 35 is 3 more than the left lane you're on now. 36 is the same. Healy knew the move before he got there.
Mm-hmm.
I could deal with that. But when you got a guy coming off the approach like this, and he's running to go talk to Callahan or to Dino or Mike Wolf, what that say? Like, that's terrible. The ball reps should be eliminated from the TV shows altogether.
It's a generational thing, Mikey. Have you ever seen Jason Belmonte run off camera to talk to a rep?
Never.
Never.
No. You'll see it in the commercial break, and that's fine.
Yeah. You want to talk about what you're seeing and compare to what somebody else is seeing during commercial break, but you never see Anthony Simonson run over to the side to ask for help.
Because
the only time Simon ever runs to the side, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, and most of these people nowadays are so reliant on everybody else and everybody else's opinion on, like, it drives me crazy that Danielle McEwen goes and talks to a ball rep in between shots. Danielle, you are such a better bowler than 95% of the people walking on the planet. What makes you think that Sean Ryan or Jim Callahan is going to fucking see something that you don't? On the TV show after you've bowled 35 games to get here. I've never understood that. So I'm with you there. I think that, you know what? You made it to the fucking show. You can figure it out for yourself for these next 20 minutes. You don't need to talk to 9 people. Not to mention, you're talking to your 9 ball reps who are also supporting the person you're bowling against. Like, what is the fucking main goal here?
How about
is the main goal to push the product, or is it to help you win?
How about
you're
the Queens?
You're both on the same fucking team. Go throw any ball you want. The more balls you throw, the better for the company.
How about
we're
the
not
Queens?
Going to pay you any more anyway.
How about the Queens with Nathan Bohr? Nathan Bohr had his wife on the show.
I know, that's ridiculous.
And then he's repping both of them.
Right. What are you even doing there, Nathan? Go sit down and cheer on your wife.
Like, honestly, the ball rep should be there for practice.
Yep.
When they come on the set for their 8 practice shots or whatever it is.
Right.
And as soon as the match starts, they are off the set.
Goodbye. See you later.
Exactly.
Goodbye.
And you cannot, and that's it. Ball reps are gone when the match starts.
That was a great one. I really agree with you on it.
But I don't know if
couldn't figure out of any rules. I think
that must have been uncomfortable for Nathan, though. Had to have been.
Nah, Nathan loved it. He hasn't made TV in a really long time.
That was the most air he's got in 10 years. But no,
he got to show everybody his new hairdo and his nice pants.
Yeah.
Real quick, Johnny, you good on time?
I have to leave in 10 minutes or so.
Okay. All right.
Actually, it's 11:37. If you give me an intermission to grab a drink and the rest of my work shit, I can go another 20.
All right, perfect.
All right, I'll be right back.
We might have to do a part 2.
I got popcorn here, so I'm good, Derek.
Yeah, we might have to do part 2 unless so the next one is going to be PBA rule that is rule what should be a PBA rule that isn't, but you guys are going to have fun with that one.
That goes back to the ball reps. Eliminate them.
Yep. Okay.
Honestly, you eliminate the ball reps, and you eliminate the ball reps once the match starts.
Yeah.
Watching these guys, and I don't want to come off critiquing or whatnot, but watching the lesser players run off the set to go look for their lifeline, it shows that they're not that talented. They're talented, but they're not that talented. Like, well, what do I do? What's the move? You should know the move. You're at that level. You should know the move. Like, a golfer and a caddy are 2 totally different things. So that's my stance on it. The ball reps need to go.
Yeah. Let's see. Should we wait for Johnny to get his take on that one, or should I?
It'll probably be the same thing.
Yeah. Here's one. Let's see. Who would you like to see own the PBA? I think we covered that.
Yep, definitely did.
Yep. Let's see.
That's a no-brainer.
So this one I love for you because you talked on Facebook a lot. Like I put in my application for the PBA. If you own the PBA, what kind of rules, what kind of events, what would you do, etc.? Anything?
I would monitor the PBA or moniker it as it was in its heyday.
Mm-hmm.
So with all the sponsorship in the 80s and the 90s, and Bolero's not doing anything wrong. But I also think you need to get a little bit of diversity and have tour stops in non-Bolero centers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it is a business and it is a pretty penny to host the PBA national stop. I understand that. But the sponsorship is the biggest thing. If you can get sponsors, big sponsors, like they had back in the day, that will ultimately make guys like we just said, our friend John, that would make him want to bowl full time. You know, it would make him want to go out and bowl the national tour on a regular basis.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
Hey, buddy.
So, John, if you ran the PBA, what would you do?
I'd run it like golf. I'd go find sponsors. I would try and first get it on a primetime spot on television that people still watch. I would try and bring into the equation something like Netflix or some kind of streaming service where people have access to it all the time. Like Mike said earlier, not a lot of people have FS2. I didn't even know I had FS2 on YouTube TV because I don't have regular cable anymore.
No.
So, but I would expand the fields, number one. I would not have this bullshit 50 guys are allowed to play. I mean, even in baseball, there's 25 guys on a squad, and there's hundreds and thousands of people that want to play. And there's options to at least try and make it to that level. So the first thing I would try and do is get some sponsor interest in it. And the second thing I would do is I would open the field to everybody. Okay. And all these corporate centers that do all this crazy amount of money, I may have to try and figure out a way to either go, you know, we keep the price the same and we allow open bowling during the tournament in like the evenings and shit like that.
Yeah.
But as not to lose it. But again, I don't have enough experience in it. All I know is that I do appreciate them trying everything that they're trying. They're trying to figure out a way to make something cool that's just not cool anymore. It's degrading and disgusting to even hear myself say it, but there's just nothing left in the sport of bowling. It's never going to attract the eyes that it did back when it was one of only 4 things to watch on television. It's never going to have that much interest. And especially nowadays, nobody has anybody to look up to anymore. Have you guys noticed that with the way the world is now? Nobody looks up to anybody anymore. You get a random person nowadays that people are into I'll take this kid, Matt Rife, for example. I've seen some of this kid's comedy, and the kid's a genius. He's a comedic genius. He has figured out a way to tell comedy in an age where you're not allowed to be offensive to anybody for any reason, even though being offensive about things that are funny are funny. And he's figured out a way to kind of curb it. But other than people like, when you look at Matt Rife on the outside, Matt Rife is a PG rating of a Dane Cook. He just suits the mold of the way the world is going now. The same way, like Sebastian Maniscalco is a new age version of, say, a Dom Herrera or even a George Carlin, who's like, but he's softer, he's gentler than those guys, or a Richard Pryor. Okay. And the I don't even know where I was going with this. Where did I even start this conversation? Why did I even feed
people
into
need to look up to people?
Yeah, looking up to people.
And nowadays nobody gets excited or like truly like has heroic standards for anybody anymore because everybody thinks that they're the best to ever walk the planet. I used to love when a new Tom Hanks movie would come out or a Robin Williams movie because I love them as actors. Now people would rather talk about how shitty those guys are or were at acting and how much better they are. And like, there's no prestige involved in pretty much anything anymore. More people want to talk about how shitty of a player Aaron Judge is than the fact that he's the Babe Ruth of our era. Like, I don't give a fuck that he's a Yankee, and most people hate the Yankees. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball right now, and people would rather fucking knock him down than say that he is the best player in baseball right now. Pete Alonso, same thing. Right. So I think that the direction the world has gone is it caters more to the self, and rather than the aspirations of being what your predecessors were. We're trying to erase history, and by doing that, the guys that are relatively small in the sport-related areas, like bowling, you don't fucking see us anymore.
Yeah.
I've said this a million times in the past, though. If you started a drunk PBA tour, if you started like a real drunk, like no holds barred tour, like the Action Bowlers tour, the guys on like Dougie Vision, the guys that are bowling for big money, that would attract more attention and fun to the sport, because at least you get real people.
Yeah. So I'm kind of going like we have so many questions that like I know that you got to go, John, but what's your bowling pet peeve? Both of you.
Oh God,
I have two.
Go ahead, you start.
I hate when you're in practice and somebody takes a re-rack in front of you. Like, honestly, you get 5 minutes. You don't need to shoot a full rack.
Yep.
I bowled a guy at the TAT a couple years ago. The rack was missing the 10-pin. The fucking guy took a re-rack in practice. You have 5 minutes to TAT. He actually re-racked the machine in practice to get a full rack of 10 pins, and then proceeded to take 3 off the right when he got the full rack.
Yeah.
The other one,
I'm guilty of that.
I hate people that bash everybody in the sport now. And I'm not getting into it again.
Right.
I did it once.
Yeah. No.
And I'm sure you both know what I'm referring to. But I'm not barking up that tree again.
Yep.
But I think there's a lot of negativity and whatnot. And I think we just all need to accept that this is a game. It's a business, right? We are not the 2% of the bowlers that make a living throwing a ball. And it is what it is. If social media existed 30 years ago, it would have been even worse. But it does now. And scores are inflated. Yes, they are. Are patterns easy? Yes, they are. Are balls steroids? Yes, they are. It's just the way it is. But, this is what we have. And, guys want to go on Facebook and post their 300s, their 800s, and their accomplishments. Skip past it. Like, I know you don't want to say it, to skip past it.
Right.
It is what it is.
Mine basically ties in with Mike. And again, as I've gotten older, I was a late bloomer to the maturity party. I'll be the first to admit it. I've actually destroyed a lot of relationships. Whether they've said it to me or not, I've destroyed a lot of relationships through my behavior, which I take full accountability for at this point in my life, because somehow through thick and thin, I'm still with a lovely woman. I have a lovely home in Vegas. I like my job. I have a beautiful dog, a loving family. And I'm still a very, very talented bowler, and I could still go and enjoy myself when I go. And other than that, I have the gym, and I have pretty much everything I need in life. I have a couple people I play golf with. And I finally reached that point where I just kind of stopped feeling sorry for myself for all the shit that I did in the past. So feeding off of what Mike said, my biggest pet peeve in bowling is people's self-entitlement in a world that is so fucking minuscule compared to the rest of the shit that's going on in the world. Bowlers have always had a false sense that they are more important than they are. Bowlers have always had a false sense that their beliefs and their actions in life, that if you don't follow suit with what they think and what they feel, not only are you an outcast, but they will make you feel like you bring nothing to the planet. It's happened to me. People in the bowling industry will look at me and say what a piece of shit I am, how I talk more of a game than I ever brought to the table, that I've done this, that I've done that I'm an edgy person when it comes to drinking and this and that. And that's all fucking fine and dandy. But you guys are professional bowlers. You are not saving people's lives in doctors' offices. You're not putting your fucking feet out first in line, front of the fucking law. You're not running into houses to save children from burning fucking buildings and fires. Right. You are not contributing to the new cryptocurrency market. You're not involved in anything that's going on political issues wise. You're not doing anything to better your life as a human. What you know and what you do is you bowl, and you're surrounded by bowlers in this tiny, small community where everybody thinks exactly the same way that you do. And I happen to have a brilliant mind, and I actually like to explore something different throughout my life. I got into painting for a year. I've gotten into weightlifting. I've experimented with fucking marijuana. I've traveled the globe. I've lived in different cities and states with people I didn't fucking know. I've experienced life outside of bowling. And when I walk into a bowling alley, I'm done acting like I have to give back to this game, because this game didn't necessarily give me shit other than the friendships that I've acquired. So when I walk into a bowling alley, let's say on a league night, and this guy who just moved from California or just moved from New Jersey shows up to league in Las Vegas. I don't know
That's
if you
going
guys
to be me
know this.
soon, John.
I don't know
That's
if you
gonna be
guys
me
know
soon.
this. Well, good, thank God. I don't know if you guys know this, but in New Jersey, the lane courtesy is 2 lanes. It's an unspoken agreement amongst everybody in the state of New Jersey that you give 2-lane courtesy in New Jersey.
Mhm.
So let's say you live in New Jersey for your entire life, and then you move out to Las Vegas, and you come and you're on lanes 23 and 24, and you're up on lane 23, and the guy on lane 25 gets up to bowl. If you have the audacity, being from the east side of the country, coming out here to the west, to not only be an asshole, but slam your ball down on that fucking ball return and look over at that guy on 25 like you want to rip his fucking head off, without even giving him the benefit of the doubt that he moved from a geographic region of the country that you're not from, where they observe a different unspoken rule that's not even a fucking rule, to a point that you actually have to shove your shit down somebody else's throat, you can go fuck yourself. You're one of the biggest pieces of shit to walk the planet, and you've demonstrated it in one fucking act on a bowling lane. I know everything I need to know about the person who slams their ball down that thinks they got jumped on a fucking league night on a Tuesday night. And those are the kind of people that when I finally sit back and I watch it happen at the professional level, I'm looking at the complete, like, denatured thought that people are allowed to make a mistake in this life anymore. They shit on you every fucking chance they get, and it's so fucking prominent in the sport of bowling, which is why it's not looked upon as a professional thing, because most people act like fucking assholes.
Yep.
It's gross. So
Amen, brother.
I'm happy to have experienced life outside of bowling, because even to this day, when I talk to bowlers that have been involved with the game for 20 years, they still sound fucking miserable. And they're still telling the same fucking stories they told about being miserable 20 years ago. All you got to do is go to a PBA regional and listen to somebody like Terry Fulford or Joe Paluzik or Ryan Schaefer standing in the back. Now, there's 3 different professionals. One's a legend, one is a good bowler, and one wants to be a good bowler. And of those 3 people, if you walk past them in the back, they're all going to tell you the same story. Fucking wood center, fucking balls checking at 30 feet, a fucking plaque 10 8 times, a stone 8, then they left a wally and a fucking 20 under. Well, now, what am I going to do? I can't fucking do anything. For 20 fucking years, man. Go learn another trade on top of it, rather than bitching and putting your hole against the wall in Bedford, Ohio. On fucking Bedford,
Seriously.
Ohio for a weekend to win $2,000 fucking dollars. Thanks.
Hey, Johnny, just so you know, this is why I titled the podcast what I did. Just
Oh, good. I'm
He's
glad,
right.
man.
He's right, though.
yeah, no, exactly. I mean,
I don't. It's not shameful for me to say anymore. And the only thing I will say is I get a little heated about it, and a lot of it has to do with the woman that I'm dating. I'm dating a very successful woman that I've been with for over 5 years now.
Oh, she's aces, dude. She's fantastic.
And she's a woman that not
Congratulations.
only doesn't take any shit, but she's
Ooh.
100% responsible. And she has taught me all the shit that I never learned growing up, because for my entire life, I was under the bowling umbrella. I had this guy taking care of me. I had this guy taking care of me. My ex-wife used to take care of me. Everybody would take care of me so I can go out and bowl mediocre.
Sounds familiar,
and
John,
go out
doesn't it?
and yeah, it sure
My
does.
situation, yours sounds a little familiar, no?
Yeah, it sure does. And
Just
now
saying.
we're finally at a point in our lives where we're like, I don't want to fucking do that anymore.
John,
and
can I
if
ask
I
you-
know I can't be top 5 in the world like Anthony Simonson, I'm gonna have to try and figure out a different way to make my life worth living in my own fucking eyes.
John,
So
let me
that's
ask you a
what
question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. And I saw this a little bit when we grew up together. Did you ever feel like you had to live up to Dad's name? Like
It's all I
everywhere
ever
you
felt,
went?
Mike. It's all I ever felt. It's all I ever felt.
And like I always thought, and this is, and I'm speaking like a brother, right? I
Yeah.
always thought there were so many people that talked to you and only want to talk to you for the connections you had, right? And didn't give a damn about getting to know John himself. They just wanted, put the act on, hey, John, give me a ball. Hey, John, give me a ball.
It still happens to this day.
Absolutely.
No,
But it's always with bowlers. It's never with
Yes.
normal people.
Correct.
Like my buddy Steve Yeager. Steve Yeager calls me once a week to ask if I want to go to lunch. And when we do go to lunch, if I try and pay 10 times, he doesn't let me pay once. He just doesn't let me. He enjoys the company. But then there's other people that call me that I know are coming to Vegas for a week. Hey, Johnny, bro, what's up? How you been? Oh, hi, bro. I haven't talked to you since I was 18, bro.
Well,
Nice
number
to talk to
changed.
you. Hey,
Number
man,
changed again, John.
Do you know? I heard you got hookups with marijuana out here. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I do. It's called driving to the dispensary and going through the drive-through and buying it, like everybody else. Or JP, can I come use your shop in the after hours? Or JP, you have a ball I can use? Like, it's always when they need something, and that's unfortunately a trait of a bowler because you're so used to grubbing because there's not enough to fucking make ends meet on your own.
Mhm.
And then the guys that don't have to grub eventually learn to hate the guys that do grub and want nothing to do with them anymore.
And that's why we are so tight, because I can pick up the phone anytime and it's bullshit with John or a random text message about something stupid and never ask for anything. But I know if I ever needed anything, John's a phone call away to give me whatever I want. And the same thing goes for me too.
Goes for you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I'm one of the few, and we said this when I was out at your place a couple months ago. Derek, this is the truth.
Mhm.
Of all the people that we grew up with that we know from here that go to Vegas to bowl or vacation or whatever, I think I'm one of the few, right, that John and Rochelle let go into their home and say, right?
Well, you're always like there's never even a question.
Yeah.
There's no preparation when you're coming. If
Yeah.
we're gonna have people over the house, we make sure the house is clean and we have
Correct.
shit to put out. But if you're coming, it doesn't matter if we're in our pajamas. Come by. Yeah. of
Yeah,
course.
I left my high noon in your fridge last time I was there, by the way.
We drank it.
I'm not surprised.
So I've been around you
Yeah,
guys.
I got 4 minutes. So ask me
Oh.
one more question and then
Okay.
I got. But I will come back for a part 2. This is very enjoyable.
Yeah, man.
I will say this. If I've been around you guys enough to have an opinion, and Johnny, you're one of the nicest people I've talked to. And when we spent that hour 3 years ago, that was a lot of fun. And I think you're a top notch. And don't ever change. Just better. Just live a good life. From the heart, man.
I appreciate it very much, Derek.
The world,
you do the same.
Derek. The world needs more people like John, where they live their life. They don't give a shit what other people think, and they go about their business. And honestly, there's so many shady and dirty people, I'm going to say it like that, out there, especially in the bowling world. Dude, there's no difference between Jason Belmonte and me or Anthony Simonson and you. We get up in the morning, both of our feet hit the floor, we put our pants on one leg at a time. They do that for a living. I can't do what they do for a living. They can't do what I do for a living. They can't do what John does for a living. But the way he perceives himself to the public and whatnot, the world needs more people like
yes, sir.
That guy, wherever he is, that guy.
So here's what we could do, and I know you got to go in 4 minutes, John. At the end of every episode, we do a 12-question flush in the pocket. I could do that with Mike. I could do that with, or we could save that for another time. What would you guys rather do?
I'll give you a couple more minutes, Derek. John has to go. He has to make a living.
I unfortunately do have to clock in 1 minute. So
thank you for your time.
Let me know when you want me. I could always do this before my work shift starts. So just let me know.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Later, John.
Later, Mike.
Yeah. So we do, 12 questions. What is? Let me find it here. All right. What is your favorite food?
Favorite food? I mean, I grew up in an Italian house, so any kind of Italian stuff. But give me sushi every day of the week.
Okay. So, Italian guy, do you eat a lot of pizza?
Not that much anymore.
Okay, I was going to ask you if pineapple belonged on pizza, but
yes.
There you go. Cool.
Ham and pineapple.
There you go. Favorite music?
My Spotify, I'm kind of like a music slut.
Yeah.
So my Spotify will have anything from I huge Springsteen fan, Billy Joel, Bon Jovi, to the Beatles and the Doors, Jimi Hendrix,
Mhm.
love Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Modern stuff, I think Bruno Mars is really talented. Lady Gaga's fantastic. So I'm all over the map.
There you go. Movie franchise you love or hate?
Movie franchise. What do you mean by franchise?
Like Star Wars or
Never seen it.
Okay. Or
Never seen any Star Wars.
not
Five
franchise, but
the greatest movie trilogies ever.
sure.
It's The Godfather followed by Rocky.
Okay.
And I've never seen Star Wars, so I can't say anything. Never seen Star Wars. I have no intention to ever see Star Wars either.
As same here. Favorite hangout?
Favorite hangout. Jesus. Now or past?
Whatever. Both. Sure.
Favorite hangout back in the day would be Strathmore. That's the bowling alley I grew up in.
Mhm.
Any day of the week, especially when I ran the place. Was once the center was closed, I would bring people in and we'd practice all during the night, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah,
any place with good company, preferably a casino or a craps table.
There you go.
But yeah, any place with good people, good company, I'm kind of easy going now.
What are you binge watching right now?
Not really binge watching anything.
Okay.
I actually have on the TV now. I'm watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan again. I'm not saying binge watching it, but I started
Sure.
watching the Stallone show on Paramount Plus.
Okay. All right. So you're absolutely dying of thirst. You just need a fucking drink right now. What is your go-to beverage?
I am a big diet cherry Pepsi person.
There you go.
But I try to do at least one a day, and I'm not even supposed to. But
Yeah.
that's my choice.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this, but party all night or quiet night at home?
Quiet night at home.
Okay.
I'm too old.
Oh.
I don't like. Yeah, I can't stay up anymore. You know, there's a group of guys that I bowl with back at home. I call them my kids, and
Yep.
I know one of them's watching now. I know my buddy Dominic is watching now. He's like
Cool.
my son.
Mhm.
And these kids, and I say kids, they're in their early 20s, and they just have the fucking energy of a 20-year-old, and I could be their father. There's
Yep.
no way.
Yep.
Quiet night at home. Can't party anymore. I'm too old.
Celebrity you'd most like to meet?
Tiger Woods.
Yeah. All right.
Celebrity Tiger Woods. Athlete Tiger Woods.
Mhm.
Yeah, Tiger Woods is number one.
Yeah. So let's see. Celebrity. If you could have a dinner with three people, living or past, who would they be?
Where are we going for dinner? How about endless shrimp at the Red Lobster? Always is a good choice, Derek.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
3 people, living or dead, that I'd want to meet. You have dinner with, you said, right?
Yep.
John F. Kennedy,
Sure.
George Steinbrenner,
Okay.
and who's the third one? I should say you, Derek.
Hey, I'll make it happen, and it'll be on me. I appreciate it.
JFK.
Yeah.
George Steinbrenner, and I'm going to go back to Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Because I think Tiger Woods is the greatest athlete I've ever seen.
Sure. Okay.
And there was nobody better at his craft than him ever.
Mhm.
And I would want to know how he got to the point that he got to. Like, how did he get that tunnel vision?
Yep. Favorite toy as a child?
Bowling ball.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever have the little Fisher Price bowling sets?
So when you asked us before how we got started,
Mhm.
Like I said, I went to go watch my mother bowl when I was a kid.
Mhm.
And then she ended up buying the Fisher Price set with the pins.
Yep.
And she would sit in our hallway setting up these pins for me. But I never used the plastic ball. I used an actual softball. And that's how I started bowling.
I used the plastic ball, and I would actually put my fingers in it, and I would actually throw it like a real ball. I put a hole in my parents' wall.
That happens.
Oh, yeah. So who would you like to see South Park make fun of next?
I've never really. I'm not a South Park guy. I
Okay.
know they do insult people.
Yep.
So how about South Park just rip apart Joe Biden?
There you go. I love it, man. I love it. So there it is. That's Flush in the Pocket. Man, I hope you had the greatest time. I really did. I really appreciate you doing this.
Derek, anytime, buddy. This was a lot of fun, and I couldn't have done it without Johnny. It was a great
No.
idea to get the both of us together, and I'm glad we were able to do it.
When you said I have a condition, I was like, and then you said what the condition was. I'm like, that's your condition. Okay, of course it's gonna happen. Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, that was a lot of fun. And anytime you guys want to come on again, I'll make it happen. And I hope you watch Sunday afternoon. I got Curtis Odom at 1:00, and so
Derek, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to Lobster Fest in Maine before?
No, I do not eat lobster.
Oh, you don't eat lobster you're from Maine?
I know. Listen, I'm a picky eater.
Are you really?
Give me a burger kind of guy. Give me a pizza, pepperoni pizza or Hawaiian all day. Give me a Pepsi, leave me alone, ham and cheese for lunch or whatever. I'm just not
so
a
you so so I want to go to Lobster Fest, Derek. So you wouldn't go to Lobster Fest. You won't eat a lobster.
Of course I would. Listen,
Maine.
I will for you, man.
Well, Derek, I don't need you to get like an allergy or anything. I need you
to no allergy. I just never really had it. And
so I'm going to go up to Bayside in September.
Okay.
So now how far are you from Bayside Bowl in Maine, Derek?
2 hours.
That's not bad.
Nope. We're gonna go. There's actually Sean Rash is having a clinic in Augusta on September 21st. I'm gonna go to that, and he's bringing along like Wes Malott and Chris Vi and a few other people.
And for those also in Rhode Island, New Providence Bowl in Rhode Island,
yeah,
my dear friend Mr. Alex Aguiar and John Van Hees, they're also having a clinic with Belmo at their center. They own the shop there.
Nice.
They're going to have a center. Mike, what the hell's his last name? Madoma, I believe his last name is, or Mike Sodoma. Sure. He's the center owner. So they're going to have Belmo there with the week they're up there in Maine for the league. So yeah, but I am going to make it up there. I am going to come up to Portland this year. I've been saying it for a while. I've never gone up there. I already have got it in the works, and I have people going up there with me. So
nice.
I will be in Portland, Maine, barring anything catastrophic. I will be there in September.
Yeah, I hope I don't get my foot run over this time. And let's go from
Got your foot run over?
Yeah, last year, a buddy of mine was. We went Friday to watch them tape some events, and he says, "Get out of the car. I'll go park." And I get out of the car, and it was a complete accident. I mean, the guy didn't mean to do it, and I'm not out of the car like a second. And all of a sudden, he's like, my foot, his car is on my left foot. And then, funny thing, Stu Williams and Martin Larson saw it. I'm getting Stu's autograph, and Stu was like, "You're gonna go get that looked at, right?" He said, "Your answer better be yes." I said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "You know about that?" He's like, "Yeah, I saw it." I'm like, "Great." So yeah, I was hobbling.
Did you have a broken foot?
No, soft tissue damage, but that's about it.
Okay,
I'm good now. I mean, nope, no, nothing broke, nothing like that. So everything.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
So
did it take you away from bowling, Derek?
Yeah, no, I bowled maybe once. I think I did bowl once that weekend, but I did not.
So you got your foot run over by a car, and you still bowled.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you are more of a man than I am, Derek.
I bowled in September, but yeah, I mean, I bowled competitively in September. But I've bowled 2 days after surgery before.
Okay.
And back when I was a kid, like when I was 16 years old. So yeah, I mean, I love the game, and I just wanted to do it. And I take one step and throw it. I did not do well, but I did.
And Derek, how old are you, Derek?
I am 42.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm 42. I live in Orono, and got my own apartment. I love life. Life is great, and
you're a great guy, Derek. You are,
you
are, and you're a huge fan of the game. And again, the sport needs more people like you.
I appreciate it.
It's the truth, and like I said, and John agreed to it. There's a lot of negativity in our game. There really is.
Yeah.
We are not baseball players. We're not Mike Trout. We're not, Patrick Mahomes. We're not LeBron James. We are not those kind of guys.
Right.
We're never going to be that, and this is a hobby. It's all it is. It's a hobby. It's a night out. It's an activity.
Yep.
You know, it is what it is. You know, we are not the 2% of the guys that do this for a living. We're never
Right.
going to be. So a
Right.
lot of negativity out there, but you know, it is what it is.
Absolutely, man. What do you got coming up with over the cap?
I got nothing right now.
Okay.
I am kind of just not saying taking a break, but a little hiatus. I do have some things that I am working on.
Cool.
But right now, my biggest focus is the X League. That
Okay.
is my biggest focus right now. And I don't know if you've seen the postings for the X League,
No.
but the X League, go check it out, myxleague.com.
Okay.
It is a new league, and it is the world's largest bowling league. That is the motto. And this is my partner and I, George Williams.
Mm-hmm.
We came to this realization a couple of years ago, and we said, you know, bowling and the wave of the future is going to be competitive traveling bowling, team bowling. So we took the issues that other organizations had, and we decided to start making our own.
Mm-hmm.
And we are launching this in September.
Mm-hmm.
We have 24 teams
Mm-hmm.
with a roster of 27 bowlers. So it's over 500 bowlers we have signed up already. It is going to be a twice a month traveling league.
Okay.
Teams are here in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are in New York. They are going to go as far up into New England. We're trying to get into New England. Our goal is to make this nationwide.
Yeah.
And the vision that George and I have is this.
Mm-hmm.
Like Johnny said, drunken bowling will be great to watch on ESPN, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the vision that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have an X League will be the way X League works is there's 3 pairs. There's 3 teams bowling a match. You have a scratch pair, there's a handicap pair, and there is a third pair where you can't have a bowler over 215.
Cannot have a bowler over 215.
No.
Okay.
That's the way it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the prize fund right now for 24 teams would be $100,000. The more teams, the more money in the prize fund, obviously.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
You're a smart guy. I think you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
There's competitive cornhole on ESPN. There's competitive tag, face slapping.
What?
Face slapping. There's all these ridiculous things that are on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Bowling's on ESPN as well, but bowling is taking the backseat. But you don't want to see Belmo make a spare to win 50 grand. It's old. But you can go to put on bowling on ESPN, and you have 3-on-3, 3 pairs of lanes. So you have 9-on-9,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And little Becky Smith, who works at your local CVS,
mm-hmm.
needs to get up and throw a double
mm-hmm.
to win $250,000
mm-hmm.
for 27 people on national television. Oh, and by the way, she's going back to work at CVS tomorrow.
So wait, 27 people are splitting 250,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Becky Smith has to throw a double
mm-hmm.
to win $250,000 for 27 people. And she's going to go back to work at CVS tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That people would watch because
Sure.
that's an average Joe, not a professional.
Yeah.
And that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to make bowling relevant again. And the plan is to make this nationwide within 3 years and just watch this thing grow. And it is all by the bowlers
mm-hmm.
for the bowlers. And
Good.
like I said, my partner George and I, we have 6 of the greatest minds in the Northeast on our staff. And we have some big things in the works. I'm kind of working on that. The show is kind of like on a hiatus because of this, but we'll be back.
Good. Like and subscribe. Watch what people should watch your show. 100%.
I appreciate that. I have a lot of people don't like it. I have a lot of people do like it. So thank you, Derek.
Absolutely. There was somebody in Bangor that won $250,000 on TV back in 2000 in Vegas.
Really?
Sim Dysart. He beat Joe German, who was another local bowler from where he lives. Pete Weber was on that show. Chris Barnes was on that show, and I think 2 others.
Okay.
And it was like I don't know, like a skins game type thing. Sim Dysart from Bangor, Maine, won $250,000.
So
Nice
Derek,
guy, great guy.
So Derek, so if I come up there, you wouldn't go to the Red Lobster for endless shrimp with me?
I'll do it. I've eaten shrimp before. I've taken a bite of shrimp.
Derek,
I'll
I mean, a guy your size, you can't be that picky of an eater. Come on.
Right? I'll do it. You got it.
I just don't want to get you sick, Derek. If you have
You're
like
not
a
gonna
food
get me sick. It's
allergy
just
or
one of
you're
those
allergic
things
to
like-
seafood, I don't need you like blowing up or
Nope.
anything like that.
Nope, I'm good. I don't eat seafood. I don't eat eggs. I
Okay.
think eggs are the most disgusting thing in the world. But
Really?
oh yeah. But I will drink eggnog, believe it or not.
Eggnog is disgusting.
Okay.
I think that's disgusting.
Okay. But no, I will go to the Red Lobster with you if that's what you want to do.
Well, my kids like going to the Red Lobster with me after we bowl. So yeah, we went to. Go ahead.
How are they doing? I know
How are they doing?
Yeah.
And just to clarify, these are not my children.
Okay.
I did not father these children.
Okay.
We just nicknamed them as my kids. Let's
Mhm.
just clear that up right now. I have one child legitimately.
Right.
There are, let's see, I'll give a shout out really quick. There's Jeremy,
Mhm.
Richard, there's Dom, and there's Chris. So there's 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
They are doing well. They are aspiring bowlers. They're pretty good. They are getting better every day.
Mhm.
And I help them out as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I am corrupting them as much as I can.
Good.
And we will be going on our first trip. We are going to bowl the Carl Ong Invitational in Arizona in October with Robert Smith.
Mm-hmm.
We will be out there, and they will be at the Holiday Doubles in December in St. Louis. So,
Mhm.
yeah, these kids are good. They're good bunch of guys. They love to eat, and yeah, man, I'll see if I'll get them to come up to Maine with me as well.
Perfect. And I know I've seen you do Facebook Lives with your daughter. She's doing well.
Yep, she's good. Thank you. Perfect.
Awesome. Absolutely. You're a great guy, Mike. Thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, tune in Sunday, Curtis Odom, see what he's got to say. And this has been Flush in the Pocket. Mike, have a great day, my friend. We'll talk soon.
You too, buddy.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. That was Mike Val and Johnny Petraglia. And Mike said, there's a stipulation for me to come on your show. You need to bring Johnny Petraglia Jr. Let me have him with me. I said, 100%. That's not even a stipulation. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk soon. See you Sunday at 1:00 for chat with Curtis Odom. Talk to you guys later.